Long time no see. Okay, thanks. See how the yeah, it's mostly actually just it doesn't make for good. Yes. Welcome. We're going to reconvene our public meeting. Welcome to our student representatives, Mr. Edwards from Tokay and Ms. Edwards from Tokay and Mr. Unman from Bear Creek High School. Ms. Edwards, how about leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a full house tonight. In closed session, we had two action items that we've worked on with personnel matters. Mrs. McFarland motion and Mr. Nala seconded, and the board approved 7-0 the appointment of Rafael Seja as program coordinator, curriculum and instruction. The effective date to be determined by the vote of 7-0. And second item was Mrs. McFarland motioned, Mr. Heavily seconded, and the board approved the appointment of Cassandra Sotelo as interim elementary principal, effective date to be determined by the following vote, 7 ayes, 0 noes. And that was the only action item in closed session. At this time, I'm declaring a public hearing open for the Rio Valley Charter School renewal for the term of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2025. Mr. McGregor, is there anything that you need to mention about this, or no? Okay. Is there any comments from the board? Okay. Then any comments from the public? Okay. Then I'm going to close this public hearing with my gavel. Okay. I need this proclamation back. Okay. All right. This is the week of the school administrator, and we have a proclamation. Mr. Palmquist, I believe you were elected to receive this. Okay, whereas the title school administrator is a broad term used to define many education leadership posts, superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, vice principals, special education and adult education leaders, curriculum and assessment leaders, school business officials, classified educational leaders, and other school district employees are considered administrators. And whereas providing quality service for student success is paramount for the profession, and whereas most school administrators began their careers as teachers, the average administrator has served in public education for more than a decade. Most California superintendents have served in education for more than 20 years. Such experience is beneficial to their work and to effectively and efficiently lead public education and improve student achievement. And whereas school leaders depend on a network of support from school communities, fellow administrators, teachers, support staff, parents, students, business, community members, and Board of Education members to promote ongoing student achievement and school success. And whereas the state of California has declared the second full week of October as the week of the school administrator in education. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education joins the state of California in celebrating Week of the School Administrator by taking this opportunity to recognize the hard work of Lodi USD administrators as we continue to recognize, encourage, and support those who have positive impact on our students and the educational system in Lodi Unified School District. We as members of the Lodi Unified School District Board of Education do hereby proclaim this week, October 13 through 19, 2019 as Week of the School Administrator.
Mr. Access. Yes, sir. Real quick, I want to thank all of our administrators for the great job you've been doing. It's been proven that strong schools have strong leadership, strong administration. Strong districts have strong administration. So thank you all very much for the work that you put in on this.
Okay. Dr. Washer, do you have a superintendent's report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Quickly this evening, I know we have a full agenda. I have a couple pictures to show you. One is from Julia Morgan. This is their lunch on the lawn. It is an effort to bring parents, grandparents, family members onto campus and have lunch with their loved ones. We have heard that they had wonderful attendance and that everybody enjoyed the event, and this is just an example of what our schools are doing out there to try to bring families together at the school campus. Also, I want to acknowledge Elkhorn School for being recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School. Yeah, Woo is right. And I know that you will want to formally congratulate them at another time, but just want to make this announcement this evening. There are 362 schools in the entire nation that were honored with this recognition, and only 30 in California. So we are very proud of Elkhorn School for their efforts. They will be receiving an award in Washington, D.C.
Very good. Anything else? That's it? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to have comments from the public. This time, a 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board of items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes, but is welcome to distribute any materials to the board or staff. Due to restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding the discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about this issue. I have a few cards up here. First one is Mr. No Gutierrez, Live Oak School. Would you like to come up, please? Okay. Gone? All right. Oh. Oh, there they go. Okay. How about Consuelo Gutierrez?
Can you hear back there?
Mr. Palmquist, can I be heard?
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, then we'll move on to Roberto Perez. Perez. Okay.
Good evening, dear school boards members of Lodi Unified School District. We are parents of children that are currently attending Live Oak Elementary School, and we would like to let you know a few concerns that we have that were just recently notified to us. We're the migrant families that live on a migrant camp located here in the city of Lodi, which temporarily opened from March 15 to December 15 every year. We have to necessarily move as the work ends here in Lodi because we work on a temporary recruiter work jobs. To continue qualified and not losing our homes, we have to force move more than 50 miles from Lodi, and some families travel to Mexico for the 3 months and the housing facility is closed. Unfortunately, there's no rent that allowed us to rent an apartment for 3 months for that reason that it's a short period of time. This letter is in order to ask you very respectful to guide us as what can we do to continue having our slot reserved for children in Live Oak Elementary School as they have done for several years. We just have been notified verbally about this bad news. Unfortunately, there was nothing in writing or attached with a copy of the policy of this regulation indicates that the slots for school can be held. This is nothing that it's new for us. The families that reside in this place, it's also nothing was ever mentioned back on March 2019 this year when they will all return back from Mexico, which we feel that it's very unfair to us due to that we were not aware of that policy of the school district. For years, we were never mentioned that opposite of this policy by a member of neither the school nor the migrant education programs. Also, upon a request, we would like the board please to consider a petition mentioned above as well as to have more teachers or more classroom integrated into Live Oak Elementary School, as there are few teachers and many children, and we feel this is also affecting. We appreciate and thank you for taking your time and reading this letter. We will truly appreciate and hear back from concerning this matter.
Thank you. Could you give the letter to Dr. Washer, please? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. And as mentioned, we as a board cannot respond to this at this time. Okay, oh, that was Roberto. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. Is there?
Out of the way, thanks.
Thank you. Daisy, not sure, is it Dickens?
Good evening, Board, Mr. President, Dr. Walker. I was here about a month ago and I brought up the boundaries. My kids actually went to Live Oak temporarily and my daughter didn't have room there. I just wanted to comment because I watched the YouTube, the live stream, and some of the North Stockton teachers felt that they were saying Lodi schools were better than North Stockton schools, and I just want to say that's not what I meant at all. My kids came from a North Stockton school and I would have loved to keep them there, but unfortunately we moved. But I just wanted to say that my concern was a geographical issue, seeing as we were closer to Borchard and I wanted to look at moving our kids over there, and kind of now the concern is, hey, there is no space for my kid to return either next year, and right now they're at Podesta Ranch, so I think my concern goes hand in hand with the concern of the kids that are being displaced now to make room for my kid that resides in the area possibly next year. So I think Dr. Washer said it was a capacity thing, and I think maybe it's time to look at the boundaries and the capacity and get this right, because I was looking at your the facility plan, and there was, before, I think the projected was about 4 developments here in Lodi, and there were a few less, and I don't think it accounts for everything that really is coming this way. So just wanted to comment and say that I believe North Stockton teachers are great. I have family that works as teachers in North Stockton, but I do think that it's really now a good time to look at this to make sure that all kids have space in these schools, whether it's at Live Oak or any of the bordering, honestly, North Stockton schools, Manila Silvo, Julia Morgan. There's a few other schools that I know are out there, so I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure I called this person or not. Idira Caceres. Am I involved? Is there any other? Okay. Oh, here we go.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Yadira Casares y pertenezco al grupo de Fuerzas Unidas.
Hi everyone, her name is Yadira Casares and she's part of Fuerzas Unidas.
Nosotros hemos estado aquí en el pasado para hablar sobre nuestras preocupaciones con la traducción en el distrito y las juntas de IEP.
They've been here in the past to talk about the translation problems and the problems they're having in the IEP meetings.
Estamos muy agradecidos que la asistencia superintendente Elisa Katowski, el director de Educación Especial Jonathan Martí y el señor José Maciel nos han recibido y se han comprometido a solucionar nuestras preocupaciones.
We are very thankful that the Assistant Superintendent Lisa Katowski, the Director of Special Education Jonathan Martin, and Jose Maciel have welcomed us and have committed to resolve our problems.
También cuando vinimos los invitamos a nuestra reunión pública que ocurrió el día de ayer. Les mandamos invitaciones a cada uno de ustedes.
We also came to invite everyone to our public meeting that we had yesterday, and we also sent invitations to each and single one of you guys.
También en la junta con los mencionados, ellos nos dijeron que podían venir a nuestra reunión para compartir a lo que se comprometieron.
Also in the meeting, we mentioned the people that we invited as the people that we just said beforehand, and to talk about what they said they were going to do.
Desafortunadamente, nadie del distrito escolar vino a nuestra reunión. Tuvimos 150 personas ahí listos para escuchar de ustedes sobre el buen trabajo que se va a hacer para mejorar los servicios de traducción.
Sadly, no one came from the district to our meeting, and we had 150 people there ready to hear the good news about the work that we're going to do, about translations.
Todos estuvimos desilusionados que no llegaron. Pensamos que es importante que el público sepa de lo que se está trabajando.
We were all sad about how you guys did not make it, and we think that it's really important that the public should know about what we're working on.
Como no tomaron la oportunidad de ayer en serio, queremos ofrecerles la oportunidad de hacer el anuncio otra vez.
Since you guys didn't take the opportunity to make the announcement yesterday, we want to offer another opportunity to be able to make the announcement in public.
Queremos tener una rueda de prensa con ustedes sobre este tema y estaremos en contacto. Gracias.
We want to make a press conference to be able to say the announcement, and we'll be in contact with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Melinda DeBroff. I know I'm butchering that name.
No, you did perfectly.
You're lying to me, aren't you?
No.
Okay, good.
So
Thanks.
my name is Melinda Dubroff. I'm the San Joaquin County Registrar of Voters. And I'm here just to let the board know that we've made a request of the district to use a number of the schools as polling places in the March 3, 2020 presidential primary. And I want you to know that our concern is, number one, the safety of the students, and that we make sure that neighborhood polling places are convenient and accessible to the voters. I want to let you know we're going to work with the school district and the people in facilities to make sure whatever room we're assigned, we're not going to let voters run around the campus. We have voter direction clerks whose sole job it is to shepherd the voters to the rooms so that they don't get lost. And the California Secretary of State and the California Superintendent of Public Instruction recently sent out a memo to all the school districts to let them know about the upcoming election, and that the school districts are required to provide their facilities as polling places. But I wanted to assure you that we understand that you're letting us into your space. And we want to get a room that is as close to the exterior of the building and suitable for voting. And I just wanted to express that we want a partnership with Lodi schools. So we've sent in some request forms to the district office, and we still haven't made the final arrangements. But just wanted to connect with you and let you know that is our intention.
This isn't a new thing. You've been doing this for quite some time, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Year after year, we use the schools. Last year in Lodi Unified, we were required to hire security guards, and that cost twice as much as any other school district. We normally pay for custodial services to open and close the building and just provide our clerks to help. And it seems like the issue is elevated here in Lodi. So unlike in Stockton or other school districts. So just know that you have our commitment that we know we're guests at the facilities, and we're going to respect that and work with the district to find the optimum polling place for both the voters and the safety of the kids. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, close public comment then, and because of the interest in a particular item, unless people, board members object, I'm going to move the first report item, the comprehensive sexual health education curriculum, to now. And then we'll continue with the agenda in order. So any objections, board? Okay. All right, then Ms. Katowski, you're up.
President Knapstad, members of the board, Dr. Washer, we are here tonight to give you an executive summary of the work that we have done with comprehensive sexual education, the curriculum. With me tonight I have Shirley Cunningham, our science coach, Sherry Coburn from the county office, and Nora, I apologize, Hannah from the county office. I've invited them to be part of our presentation as they are experts in comprehensive sexual education and are much more fluent and informed about it than I believe Shirley and I are. So any specific kind of questions they will be able to answer. So if we can go to the first slide. This will be the only slide that we talk about unless directed to the top. I want to just let you know that school districts in California are required to implement the California Healthy Youth Act, which includes, and there you have the ed code, and pardon me for, there's an extra one, it's 51939. There's no one on that ed code, sorry. Comprehensive sexual health and HIV prevention education at least once in middle school and once in high school. If you remember correctly, we had a discussion earlier about maybe providing some sexual education or puberty at elementary school, and based on the feedback that we got from our community members, we chose not to pursue that at all. So we're only talking about once in middle school and once in high school. The programs that meet the California Healthy Youth Act requirements are listed there. There are 5 of them. Those are the only 5 programs that have been approved that meet the requirements. Teen Talk was the very first program that may not have been 100% compliant with the Healthy Kids Act, but had the most alignment. And that is one of the reasons why when we started this process, at least a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we went with Teen Talk. But the others have been revised and have been verified to be meeting the California Healthy Youth Act through the ACLU. We want to let you know that Teen Talk is used in the PowerPoint you'll see by many districts in the San Joaquin County. We've had it on display since late August. It's still on display out in Portable F. And our curriculum council had made the recommendation to move forward with Teen Talk. When we had parent meetings, we had some additional concerns were raised, and they suggested some other programs, one of them being HARP. We checked into that, and that does not meet the California Healthy Kids Act requirements, and checked the facts. We were unable to locate the curriculum. We could locate an outline, but not the curriculum to look at. So we're bringing forth to you for discussion a couple of options for our next steps. To bring forward Teen Talk is recommended by Curriculum Council to our next board meeting in November, and that will ensure compliance in the California Healthy Youth Act, which we haven't been compliant since 2016. We can also go back out and review one of those 5 curriculums and make another recommendation if that is something that you would like us to do. Or my least desirable is the very last one, because I'm not sure that we could develop a curriculum that wouldn't have problems with copyrights and all of those other issues while we try to meet the California Youth Act. So we're here to answer questions, hear comments.
Any questions from the board at this point?
Yes,
Mr.
I
Nava?
have a question. On Hearts is not in compliance, right? That they don't qualify. Hearts?
Correct.
What about check the facts?
We can determine if it is compliant or not, since we were not able to get our hands on a copy of the curriculum.
Because that's a Turlock program. They started that, and I like what the comments of some of the teachers that teach the check the facts are, and maybe we could pursue that a little bit more on it. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Porter.
Ms. Katowski, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Do we have any health teachers here tonight?
I did invite health teachers. I don't know, with the large crowd, I wasn't able to identify any. So if they are here, maybe they will stand up.
What did I ask for? What are we currently teaching in health?
Well, with the high school, we are not teaching sexual education in high school. We are currently teaching the HIV/AIDS lessons that are required by the comprehensive sexual law from 2013, I think it is.
Yes.
We are teaching those in physical education. That happened when we removed health as a requirement from a graduation requirement. And the only class that every 9th grade student has to take is physical education. So that was the reasoning at that time many, many, many years ago.
What's our accountability on the HIV being taught through the PE curriculum, the high school level?
I would hope that they were trained, and I would hope that they are doing it.
So we don't have any follow-up on that, do we? Now, is it possible, and again, my expertise is science, that teachers that teach health, is that correct? Would be able to do an aggregate program of their own, as long as it met the district requirement, state requirement?
I do not believe you are.
We're saying we have to buy a program, is that correct?
Correct.
We have to?
I believe you have to buy one of those 5 approved programs.
Now, there's no districts that are developing their own curriculum.
If they develop their own curriculum, they're going to have to meet those, and I do not believe that that is the case.
Okay, but is that a possibility?
I guess you would say yes. It'd be an awful lot of work.
It'd be a lot of work, but they can meet the state requirements. Now, when you say that one of the programs doesn't meet the state requirements, is it possible for the teachers to then supplement? So that they do. For example, heart.
I'll let Sherry respond to that as the county did the review.
I'm Dr. Sherry Coburn. I did my doctoral dissertation on teen pregnancy prevention and have been teaching it in this county for many, many years.
Outstanding, good for you.
Thank you. So there are several inaccuracies in the heart curriculum scientifically, since you are a scientist.
Right.
For example, a virus is a microorganism. I'm just going to give you one example of a statement.
Not correct, but
it is not. You're
yeah.
correct. It is not. But that's what it states in this curriculum.
Right.
So there are many things that would have to be corrected. I went page by page this weekend through this curriculum. And
I'm not saying,
but I'm just saying, so in addition to supplementing, they would also have to go in and correct the curriculum.
correct the inaccuracies. So getting back to you, because you're the expertise, is it possible to do an aggregate program?
A person could write curriculum.
Are there any in the district that are doing that? Any
Not in San Joaquin County.
Not in San Joaquin County.
None.
So San Joaquin County, then most of the people are using, most of the districts, excuse me, are using Teen Talk.
Or Positive Prevention Plus.
Or Positive Prevention Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which one, because you're the expert, do you prefer?
I'm going to be biased because since Teen Talk was on board and I have reviewed that curriculum, we have preferred that curriculum.
But you said you're biased.
Well, because it was the first to come on board and I have reviewed it and I like it, and when I've taught it, students have responded well to that. So yes, I am biased. I did teach the Positive Prevention Plus curriculum, which I think it's good, but it doesn't have a teacher, a training of trainer model.
Right.
The other ones I have not reviewed.
So what are we teaching now in health? I do believe we have health classes in high school, is that correct?
That is correct. We do have health classes. They teach, they follow their syllabus. If I would be 100% accurate, I would tell you that they would follow their syllabus. But I could imagine that if you went into each health class, you would see something different.
So we don't have benchmarks for all the high schools?
No.
And why is that?
Not here?
Okay, because then we don't have a standardized level or bar for every high school.
Correct.
And so sex ed is not on that bar.
Sex, only the HIV/AIDS lessons are on that bar. Sex ed is not on that bar.
And so we
It's not
decided to do
required.
the HIV in PE because that was required.
Correct.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
kind of thinking through you here a little bit. Okay. Thank you very much.
Any comments? Mr. Neely?
Questions. The Teen Talk has been approved by the state, correct? All right, now, has it been submitted to the state for approval? Was it submitted and didn't make it or something?
It looks like it's a relatively new curriculum, so since those reviews took back 16, 17, I believe it has not, but I couldn't confirm that.
Now, some of the things that I've read on this, that the Teen Talk was a risk mitigation type program, and HEART was a risk avoidance program. Have you heard anything about that? And I may not be using.
Well, the Ed Code requires that you need to teach abstinence. So whether you, and I know that Teen Talk does address it, so does HEART. HEART curriculum does talk about abstinence.
Right.
So both curriculums required by law teach and talk about abstinence. HEART curriculum does say sexual avoidance. And they do talk about reducing the risk of getting exposed to STIs and HIV and unwanted teen pregnancies, just like Teen Talk does.
Okay. I have seen, this is my 9th year on the board, and I have never seen anything that generated as much interest as this particular subject has. I've gotten more emails on this than, by far, than any other thing I've gotten emails on. Somebody took pity on me and emailed me the HEART curriculum in its entirety so I could take a look at that. There's some things in there, frankly, that I don't agree with. But here's my bottom line on this, is that I may not agree with many of our parents on this, but that doesn't matter. Because to me, it's about their right to have an education for their child that they can deal with. That's their, it's like, you know, flag burning. I despise it. I'm a 20-year military guy and I despise flag burning. But you know what? That's freedom of speech and they got their right and I'll protect that. That's kind of like this. I may not agree with a lot of these people, but you know what? They've got a right. So maybe we need to do something different here. Maybe it's not just black or white, because if we adopt one and they don't want their kids to go to that, then they can opt out, correct? And if they opt out, then the kids get nothing. So maybe we could run a dual program, okay? And give people 3 choices, all right? And just, I'm going to use names that you've got there. Teen Talk, okay? But you can opt out of Teen Talk into HEART, or you can opt out completely. Now we have to understand, we've got to recognize that this is a really touchy subject for a lot of our parents, and we've got to understand that. We've got to help them out the best that we can on this. So I don't think we're ready to, I know this is a discussion. Thank you so much for this. This is great. I'm glad we got some people here. When I first got here, I thought everyone was here for that, but then as it turns out, half of them are here for the migrant, and I'll talk about that during my comments too. But, so there is a lot of interest. Let's continue on. Let's not settle down on a decision right now. I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah. Mr. Ebley?
Thank you.
Comment?
Yes, and I think the 2 previous board members kind of stole some of my thunder, but that's okay. All that means is that they were thinking correctly. No. Anyway, so the thing about where we are with this, you know, I don't know what these other curriculums are, and I don't know exactly what the best solution is. I've got some in my mind, and I'll bring those to you in a minute. But I'll tell you, one of the things, and Mr. Neely mentioned it, is that everybody has a line of what is appropriate and what is not, okay? And I'll count how many people are here, and that's how many different variations of lines that we have. So that's the difficult part. Now, really, we're going to follow along. That's kind of basic. Now, how you do that is where we are. Ms. Katowski did, like when we did math adoption and NGSS coming, science coming, we had teacher committees and so forth. Is there a teacher committee that chose this, or how did all this work?
Well, I can go back and tell you that we did not have a committee together since we only had one program when we started this that met the requirements, and that was Teen Talk. It didn't seem to be a viable avenue to pull teachers together to discuss which program we're going to adopt when there's only one that was meeting the requirements.
Right, makes sense. So now we have 5 options. Yeah, I'm absolutely with Mr. Neely, is that I think that this is kind of a nice introduction, but I'm in no way ready to approve Teen Talk in the way it is now. And I have my reasons and I can explain them, but this is, in the interest of time, I don't think I need to right now. If the discussion comes further, then I'll come back and do that. So not really having the variety of curriculums and not really having our health teachers involved in the selection, I think it's a little premature in actually trying to narrow this down. I think what we need to do is kind of take a look at things. One of the options even could be that I heard from a staff member is that, you know, we could do what we're doing right now and supplement that would cover the topics that would keep us in compliance. So what that looks like, I don't know. But that's why I'm saying is that I'm just not ready. We've got other work to do before we get there. I don't want to drag our feet. It's got to happen. We've got to move forward. So, yeah, I think that we need to look at where we are and where we're going. But Teen Talk is very difficult for me to approve. Let's say. So anyway, that's kind of where I am at this point, and I'll go ahead and see if anybody else has any other comments. Gary, I have a quick question. If this is required by the state, certain parts, correct? Is that correct?
I'm sorry,
Certain parts of this is required by the state, correct?
all of it is required by the
Well,
state.
I get it.
Yes.
But you, and again, this is me not being very smart.
No, you're very smart.
You're very kind. You told me that health is optional,
Correct,
and it's not part of the graduation requirement.
correct. But this is not optional.
So what is going to happen there in terms of mechanics of does health become optional for not optional for graduation?
Well, you know.
Are we going back to our PE teachers who are teaching this?
No,
Okay.
we haven't gone down that road, to be honest, because we would have had that discussion if things had moved along in the manner that we had thought they would be.
So we have a lot of issues.
We have a lot of things that have to be resolved.
'Cause-
It doesn't have to be health teachers, it doesn't have to be a PE teacher, anybody that's trained can teach this. It could
No,
be a
I-
counselor, a nurse, or.
I understand all that, but where's the accountability in terms of like, they're going to be in class. Where are you going to put it? In health, PE, science, where?
Well, see, in middle school, right now, it's in science.
Right.
There is a discussion that is not appropriate because the biology at 7th grade is no longer in 7th grade. So we have science teachers that are saying it's not appropriate in 7th grade science. So that's why the idea that maybe it's not a teacher or it's not assigned to a class, but a nurse goes in and teaches it in a class or in one of their sections. I mean, we haven't really fleshed all of that out. In high school, we haven't fleshed it out either. It would make sense that it be in health. I want to say 90-95% of our students, even though it's not a graduation requirement,
Right.
still take health.
Right.
So we have those kids that they take AP Geography
Right.
and Avid that
Right.
cannot take that class, and those are the ones we'd have to think of something different for them to guarantee that they get.
So beyond just curriculum, you have mechanics to worry about as well.
Yes.
All right,
And I'm
thank you.
not worried about mechanics until we get the curriculum. I mean, it's just part of that. So it's,
It's just, like I said, when I talked to Mr. Khan, it's a lot for the board to take in, because you're also talking about possibility graduation requirements, where you teach it, who teaches it, and then, of course, you get into what curriculum. So there's a lot of things to look at here for the board members to digest. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but I'm confused also. Health is not required to graduate from high school, but sex ed is?
Yes.
I mean,
With the passage of the California Healthy Youth Act, yes. These lessons are, these.
so we can teach sex ed anywhere we wanted to, out in smoking, well, out in.
Any grade in 9 through 12. One of the grades or one of the classes.
Okay.
Ms. Nolan? Yeah, I like the 3 bullets, the last 3 bullets. That's what you people are going to be doing. Ensure that it complies by 2020. Curriculum Adoption Committee continues to research and review programs. I like that. You're going to continue to do that, and you can bring that back to the board. A district develop a curriculum to meet all the requirements of the CHYA requirements. So I like that. It's all in a nutshell there. That's all I'm concerned about. If you bring us a program here that fits the whole thing, and let's get on with it.
So,
Could you say something about that, check the facts program too?
Yes, check the facts is Turlock, yeah. And that's, I don't know if that's in compliance with the state. If they're doing it, it must be. I would like to.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily? Then how are they getting away with it?
That's a
because
good
we're not in
question.
2020 yet.
And
We're not
That
2020,
could be
but
right too.
the other issue is that
Are they teaching it?
we have to be very careful about a program that maybe has taken bits and pieces from somebody else's copyright material and put it into their program. So it may look good, but it may not be their material.
But we don't know because we haven't looked at it.
we don't know.
We haven't been able to get our hands on it. Correct.
Real quick, I have a question. If we're not concerned with who's going to teach it, then how do we have oversight and review of a program? Because I think that is it. They kind of go hand in hand while you're reviewing programs. If it's going to happen in the science department, science teachers should look at it. If it's going to happen in a health department, health teachers should look at it. If it's going to happen in an English department, English teachers should look at it. So I think they kind of have to be decided at the same time the way I see it. Is because you would hate for the health teachers to review it and then go, oh, but by the way, it's going to be taught in social studies.
Right.
I think, just my 2 cents.
I agree. I think you have some work to do. Honestly, I think you, what I'm hearing is we're kind of confused up here, honestly.
I'm not confused. I'm not.
Then I'm confused. Just Dr. Washer, help me out.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'll just try to paraphrase what I've heard you say is that you have concerns about teen talk at this point, and you would like the district to look at other material now that there are other programs that seem to meet the requirements. You are not opposed to the district developing their own, if that's a direction that we wish to go. But you would like some more research done, and you would like us to have a committee with different representation from different fields of study.
Now, I'd also kind of like to know who's teaching it, what department, so
The
some
logistics of it.
responsibility, who's going to be responsible for this?
Yeah, we need to know who's going to have the buy-in. I agree with Mr. Knackstead, President Knackstead. Who is going to be the soldiers out in front for us? I don't think we're confused. I think we have legitimate questions. This is not, it's not being ill-informed, but you have mechanics here that haven't been worked out, and you're trying to put the wheels aren't on the car, but you're putting the engine in. So we have people that have to have buy-in that are going to teach us, and they got to be knowledgeable, and they have to be comfortable with what they're teaching. So I'm totally agreeing with Mr. Knackstead. I think there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, so what's our timeline on this? I mean, the state's got to be breathing down our neck somewhere along the line.
I agree.
By 2020, you're going to want to make sure that you have that in place.
And what happens if we don't?
We will.
I'm asking the questions.
I don't know that the ACLU is looking at school districts yet because you do have that window.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen thereafter.
okay. All right,
Let me ask you one more question on it. As far as if we develop our own program that meets the criteria from the state of the law, okay? Does that have to be approved by the state? So we would have to submit it?
You would, yeah, and I think they are. I know that they're going to pull together a group again to see additional curriculum. And Nora's part of that California Healthy Kids Resource Center. so that more people can submit curriculum, but again, you have to be careful about copywriting and things like that.
Right. But if we worked with this organization, HART, we could take that basis of that program, possibly, if they agree with it, and work into things that, no?
Well, it's difficult because there are inaccuracies in the curriculum that that you have to be careful with. So if you take pieces of it, you have to really be careful about what you're saying and make sure that it's accurate information, that medically accurate information, statistically accurate information. There's things that are missing in there. So yeah, so I would be careful. I would lean more on trying to develop your own than going with something that someone else has already developed, and making sure that you have those pieces of the California Healthy Youth Act all incorporated. But there are a lot of pieces to incorporate. There's a lot of information.
Well, one of the things I see is when, like Mrs. Katowski was saying, is that when all of this started, there was one. Now there are 5. And I had heard that I also received a copy of the HART program, and later received a phone call by someone who is involved with that. Not writing it, but offered it as a possible option. I was told that they're looking at redoing theirs in order to make what they have fill those holes and make that compliant. So, you know, I think that's where we need to go. So, Ms. Katowski, where it says curriculum adoption committee, there's not one right now.
Correct.
Okay, very good. So yeah, like I said,
One by next Tuesday if we need to.
Well,
We need to.
And I do think if we're moving towards the curriculum group to discuss, well, number one, figure out who's going to teach it. Number two is maybe we're looking at it from the wrong perspective. Maybe we're looking at it from a structure. And when you get those educators in the room, the teachers that are actually going to teach it, one might jump out at them. So I think we're trying to put square peg in a round hole. And maybe if we draw on the people that are actually going to teach it, instead of us looking at it from a straight book perspective, maybe they might have some good points, which not that you all don't and you're not experts at it, but maybe the people that are teaching it might bring another perspective of one of the 5 that are in front of us that we don't have.
let's go to the teachers.
Yeah.
Find out where we're going to teach it, put the professionals in charge. That's always been my suggestion.
What discipline are you going to put it in?
They don't
And
know
then,
yet.
and that right there, so you could put it in the school catalog, so we have this in this particular area, besides all the other work that you're going to be doing.
Well, and that's part of it is the operations of it. Okay, we've got curriculum X. Now we have to implement it. Well, that should be all part of the package. And to me, the implementation is always a critical thing. You know, and like I said, I read the HART curriculum and had nightmares for weeks. But anyway, it was, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, Team Talk also has some scientific and medical and biological inaccuracies. Yes. So, that being said, I'll repeat myself, we have a lot of work to do, and I'm not ready to move forward with just one when there's others to look at.
Any other comments from the board?
So it looks like we're on the path to form a committee, get the mechanics in place, and to continue researching the programs.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
I think so.
Perfect.
Okay, any comments from the public? That's why you're all here, I know. Kind of stand in line and...
If you like, you can make a line over this wall.
Good evening, President Knaxton, members of the board, Dr. Washer, students. Here it goes.
You bet. Sorry,
yes.
How many people would like to address the board tonight on this topic? Show of hands, maybe? Okay, but with that said, I think we're okay. Okay. We just didn't want to run over time. If everybody here wanted to talk, we're going to keep it at 30 seconds. But
That's why we go longer.
We would agree that having the experts that are in the classroom teaching health curriculum now be part of the committee. Whether or not it's the health teachers teaching that, they currently are the experts that have that background. They should be on that committee, along with if it goes into science or it goes into PE, those teachers who would have to be teaching it should also be included on that committee as they look at the materials. And again, professional development, professional development, professional development. 20 plus years ago, I was part of that professional development. It is not an easy topic to teach, but it is highly valuable. Again, as you know, my soapbox is that I believe 5th and 6th grade students should learn about their bodies and the changes that they're going through. And I know that the recommendation is not for 5th and 6th grade students. So I would hope that we would also look at what it is or what we are not going to be providing, and how do we maybe educate our parents that this is no longer going to be any part of the curriculum that a 4th, 5th, or 6th grade young lady or young man learns about as their body changes. So I would make sure that we encompass all, because as I think it's 2 slides from here, the recommendation is not for 5th and 6th grade. And I don't personally feel that that is wise. But I think a comprehensive committee to look at the curriculum widespread is important. Thank you.
I have a quick question. You've taught this, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
Is this a semester or a year?
No, there's only so many lessons.
So 6 weeks, 9 weeks? We're talking about a quarter?
Yeah, 2.5. If you do them, some teachers do it over weeks or.
I'm just curious about time, because what I read was pretty encompassing, a lot to teach. And then you've taught, so I want to talk to you. You're saying 2 weeks.
It depends on how you set up your class, but yes, it's very quick.
Okay, thank you.
I thought it was a whole
And
semester.
one
No,
more
it's
question
not.
for Sherry. Where would you put this?
Well,
Yeah,
see,
you're disciplined.
I taught for Manteca Unified School
Yes.
District, and it was in health.
In health. Thank you.
But they required health though.
Yeah, right.
That's what we're looking at. Thank you very much.
And I also want to say that, it does wrap into some science and NGSS standards as well.
Sure, has to. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jody Cook, and I just want to say thank you to the board. I was not prepared to have such a vigorous discussion about this, and I really appreciate your comments and your concerns regarding our children, as this is the most intimate thing you can possibly deal with. We're dealing with their bodies, and we're dealing with a situation in which the Teen Talk curriculum, I went in and I looked page by page at the high school. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and very concerned because this would be the year that she would have gotten in. However, I have an 8th grade son as well who would be coming up next year. And I was absolutely appalled right from the get-go. The first page where it says, in quotes, "The advantages of teaching in a mixed gender environment is that it models and helps students practice effective communication among different genders." We are talking about the most intimate thing, their bodies. Mr. Porter, you were my bio teacher my sophomore year in 1989.
Are you
And
okay?
I can
Nobody in the army.
This is kind of messing me up, but yes, I am. And I just want to say, I go back to that sophomore year and I'm trying to imagine the stuff. Night at the Oscars is in session 4. Lights, Camera, Action is the name of the lesson, in which these kids have to go in a mixed gender classes, and they are supposed to get together and perform a skit or a play or a rap or a comedy routine in costume, as creative as can possibly be, about contraception. Now, at that age level, how many years did you teach in? You know how that would have gone down.
That does not go down like that, and it's hard for me to imagine with what I read and what they're trying to get through that you could possibly get through this curriculum that Teen Talk has. I went page by page, and to get through that quickly with the activities that they are proposing that you have is just mind-boggling to me. And I did find it appalling because it did not hit, if you are going to go into this realm with these kids, and you are going to actually have a model there and give them a condom and have them practice putting that on next to their peers, and then you don't think that some of these kids are going to have a psychological repercussion during that moment? I could barely answer a question. If I didn't know the answer and a teacher called on me, I was absolutely mortified. And you want me to do something, my kid to do something like that? If we had that out here right now, I don't think we would feel comfortable doing that as adults. And so it's very frightening to me, and not hitting the psychological point when you are talking about young girls and you bring up such things as, let me just get to the, it's pregnancy options. And when the description, and I get it, you go through all the pregnancy options. If you are pregnant, you can keep the baby, you can give it up for adoption, and then we have our abortion choices. I understand that. However, this is where the inaccuracy comes in. Because when they talk about abortion and they talk about a medical abortion and they try and say that it's like having a period, that's not okay. That is not an accurate description of what a medical abortion is. And I've talked to numerous people, and I was a mentor mom for teen moms for 4 years, in which I took care of these girls and brought them into my home, kids that had decided to keep their babies. And some of them had already had abortions, some of them had chosen that route, and now they are keeping this baby. And I heard the horrific stories. I was in college, I had a roommate that went through an abortion, and when they describe that it's a light suction, it is not a light suction. You do not sugarcoat that. If you are going to put it in, you need to do it accurately. So if we're talking about inaccuracies in a heart program, we need to address the inaccuracies here, because it is not a light suction. In fact, it is 27 times stronger than a vacuum cleaner is what these girls would be experiencing. So I am so thankful to you guys. I think it's a fabulous idea to take. We have, of course, California wants us to go, and they want us to go ahead with this. However, the things that they're saying, we can do it in a respectful way. We can teach this to our kids in a respectful way. There's no reason we need to have a game like lights, camera, action. That's atrocious. Atrocious. We don't have to play a game like agree and disagree and have the kids who agree with that they're uncomfortable with premarital sex and the kids who disagree go to this side and then being isolated. And these kids can also, if they want to have the conversation with only the people that they feel comfortable, the gender that they feel comfortable, if they only want to have that with girls in the class or boys in the class, you're going to probably get a better gauge of where they are. They don't need to be comfortable with the opposite sex having these discussions at this age, when you're talking 12 and 14. I thank you, board, very, very much. I am so appreciative that you are looking further into this, and I think that your avenues that you're seeking are brilliant. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Howen. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am a registered nurse, and I work at a local pregnancy clinic, Directions Medical Clinic, who, by the way, comes into the high schools free of charge and presents talks on sexually transmitted disease, including HIV. We've been doing this for years. We don't cover all the other information, but we have at least been doing that, and just want to let you know that. CHYA states that the information in the sex ed curriculum needs to be medically accurate. I provided each one of you, plus Superintendent Washer and Ms. Katowski, a red folder which includes my list of omissions and inaccuracies that I found in Teen Talk after spending many hours reviewing the material. Also in your packet, I've included the CHYA compliance assessment tool of the HEART curriculum, as well as some other helpful information that I received from them. One is 10 ways that the California sex ed curricula fail to protect students that Heart gets right. And number 2, an executive brief for the Heart curriculum, which includes frequently asked questions. And by the way, it is offered free of charge. The only cost would be in training the providers and printing costs. And the rationale behind its creation, as well as the list of the Board of Advisors and their credentials. Mr. Hellwell, one of the authors, stated to me that he would be happy to come and speak with you and answer any questions if that would help you in making a decision. Ms. Katowski does have a copy of the middle school Heart curriculum if you'd like to see it. I assume that some of you have the high school one, which is not quite released as yet. The high school curriculum is 10 lessons, whereas the 7th grade is 8 lessons, 6 lessons, and the 8th grade is 8 lessons. And they believe in repeating the material over a period of 3 years. Repetition, repetition, repetition helps us learn, right? In the high school curriculum, there is a greater emphasis on HIV protection, as well as creating lasting commitments in relationships. I am so thankful for your comments, and I really applaud you and encourage you to delay the vote in November until you can properly evaluate. Also wanted to offer my services as a nurse to be on any curriculum committee to review material. I think it is important to have medically accurate material, and also to have some of this material about infections to be taught by a medical professional. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that Dr. Washer that we hold these comments to 5 minutes because the line seemed to got a little longer than it was when I asked for hands.
Oh, we raised our hands. Sorry.
Yeah. 5 minutes, please.
Hi, Jennifer Israel Dietrich. I want to thank you for your questions about accountability and implementation tonight. And I'm interested to see, if there is a curriculum that could, 1, alleviate some of the concerns from parents, and 2, meet state standards. I don't know if these can meet in the middle, but I'm very excited about you pushing for more research and input from teachers. I would also encourage input from counselors and other administrative staff that field some of these questions and have these conversations daily. While you're having this input and research, I really encourage you to open up the conversation for 5th grade education as well. Growing up in Lodi Unified, I was shocked to learn that the district doesn't provide any puberty or sexual health curriculum in 5th or 6th grade anymore. Even though we know that children are starting puberty earlier, some as early as 4th grade now for girls. And many Lodi Unified parents will help their kids navigate through the physical and emotional changes of puberty, but for some kids, this is their only chance to get this information. School's the only place that they can help understand, what's changing with their bodies, start learning about the risks of being sexually active, and communicating with trusted adults. Please don't deprive kids of this opportunity, because some parents, albeit a loud group of parents, don't want their kids to receive this education. I completely understand that, and there's an easy way to meet their interests by opting their children out, rather than taking away that opportunity from every other student in the district. Additionally, wanted to circle back. At the last meeting, you declared October as Bullying Prevention Month. If you are committed to reducing bullying in our schools, providing LGBTQ inclusive curriculum is an easy way to help. And as a reminder, kids who are LGBTQ are more likely to be bullied, assaulted, drop out of school, die by suicide, and that providing inclusive curriculum to all students helps lower that risk. And we know that when students feel safe, they are more engaged in learning, they get better grades, they want to be at school more. And to think, I don't want anyone to think that Lodi Unified isn't struggling with this issue right now. Kids are struggling at school because they are or are perceived to be LGBTQ. I encourage you to listen to stories from school counselors and teachers and current and former students. That's why Tokay and Lodi have had gay straight alliance clubs out on their campuses, and that's, it's even been noted in the local newspaper, it's about encouraging tolerance and understanding among all students. And we shouldn't wait to encourage that tolerance and understanding till they get to 7th or 9th grade. We need to build a safe learning environment starting early. Last year, 12% of 7th graders in Lodi Unified already self-identified as LGBTQ. So 5th grade is not too early to help make these kids feel safe in being who they are. All of our kids should feel safe at school and have the chance to succeed academically and be prepared to make sexual health decisions in life. And a few hours in 5th, 7th, and 9th grades can help make it possible. So I encourage you to adopt curriculum that meets state standards for 5th, 7th, and 9th grades. Thank you.
Thank you all for setting this time aside for us this evening to discuss this. I also have some concerns about the adoption of the sexual health education curriculum. I attended both of the parent meetings. I'm sorry, Chair. All right, and I attended both of the parent meetings, and there it seemed like there was representation there from about 0.2% of the parents of Lodi Unified School District. And that vocal majority made the decision for the entire school district to not adopt a 5th grade health curriculum, as the lady before me said. Instead of choosing to opt their own children out of the portions of the curriculum, because you don't have to opt out of the entire thing, you can still get the puberty education and skip out on all of the things that you object to, they instead, and Lodi Unified backed them up on this, decided to opt every student in the district out of that education, which frankly has me quite upset. I've heard a lot of talk, back to the team talk. I do have concerns with that. My concerns involve some of the skits and the role playing I feel could be opportunities that students could take to shame some students. There's one skit where a teen girl has to, does something where she's pretending like she has an STI or something along those lines, and I feel like that's maybe a little beyond the pale and could lead to some sort of bullying or just making fun of those kinds of things. And so that does concern me. I'm also concerned with this HEART curriculum that I found out about this evening for the first time, right on the front page. It says it's a family values-based curriculum. The California Healthy Youth Act explicitly says that religious doctrine will not be brought into these health curricula. And so when I see family values, I see Christian conservative, because that, I think as most of us understand, is a code word, right? The Christian values conferences and all of those things that politicians go to go hand in hand with that. And so I am very concerned about that. Lastly, I also just want to say that I know there's a lot of objections to these, to this curriculum and all of the other ones, just based on teaching about sexual orientation, teaching gender identity. The First Lady spoke about having kids kept separate based on the old school binary beliefs that there is a man and there is a woman and that there are no other gender identities. That is a detriment to our students who do identify as non-binary, trans, and all of the other ones that go along. By doing that, we do not give them a space to receive this curriculum. And so I feel that it's very important that all of this is done together with boys and girls in the same room. Frankly, high school, we're preparing our students to become adults. If you can't have hard conversations in an environment where there are leaders present that can monitor those conversations and those interactions, we're doing a disservice to our students when they go out into the real world and are faced with similar things, right? They're probably really not going to be having those conversations, maybe they are, but they will be having other difficult conversations where they do not feel comfortable in a room. This is the perfect opportunity to teach our children that. Again, though, if parents do not like these things, they can opt their students out of those lessons. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Suzanne Simpson. I've been here before in July, and I've went to these parental meetings and heard a lot of concerns. And instead of writing my own letter, I got a letter from my child because I want to make sure that your curriculum includes all students. I actually was quoted in the Lodi Sentinel about covering vocabulary and things that have to do with the LGBTQ plus community so that all of your students are serviced and not just the heterosexuals like myself and maybe many of you. My child, my oldest, who graduated from Tokay, was the president of the GSA club, and that was very important for her. Excuse me. It's a hard time as a teenager. Maybe some of us can remember being a teenager. And when you struggle with things, when you're struggling with things and then people, your peers don't accept you because of who you are and they make fun of you and put you down, then some children have, committed suicide, and I don't think that's funny. I've heard some people snickering about some things back here. This is not a funny subject. If they don't want to have their children taught certain things, then they can teach their values at home. I'm a taxpayer like many of these people, and I want my child to be accepted at school. So this is from my 12-year-old. And she said, "My name is Carla Simpson, and I'm an 8th grade student at Lodi Unified." I just read this before I came. So many of my peers ignorantly insult the LGBTQ plus community without really understanding how hurtful they're being. I don't want, let me get myself together for a minute. I don't want other students and future generations that are part of the LGBTQ plus community to feel like an outsider or be misunderstood. Allowing students to be taught the curriculum could make all the difference. So I've briefly explained to her what I've been coming up here for, and that's what she's referencing. I remember doing an art project for class and including my pride flag colors. Derogatory and offensive words were spoken in my class and have now been banned. This is a good start, but it should be an unspoken rule. I've been discriminated against for my sexuality by some of my classmates. It's unfair discrimination by people who either didn't understand what they were saying or wanted to offend me and other members of the LGBTQ plus community. I hope people understand the significance of the curriculum. So basically what I ask is that you not water it down and that you not exclude this whole community of people, because you can't, these people exist and they're not going away and they're humans and they have feelings, and my child, this one is one of them, and then my older child, and they're amazing people. They're not here right now, one's in college, but you know what, I'm here for all children. I'm an educator myself. And I just think you need to pick a curriculum that just respects that community, and not it's not to offend other people that have different values. If they don't agree with that, they could opt out. And thank you for being patient with my emotions. Have a good night.
Hi, I'm Jen Castle, and I'm a teacher at Tokay High School, but I'm also a parent of 3 students. I wanted to thank you for recognizing that there needs to be a teacher voice in all of this. And certainly when we talk about curriculum, and this is brand new curriculum, I could see where that will be possibly intimidating to some people, but I would like to defend good teachers' abilities to adapt that curriculum and to make good choices and to make sure that the curriculum is appropriately taught. And I would like to ask everyone to have this kind of respect for good teachers and a good teacher's ability to do this. So I heard that on the board, I'm hearing that from the audience, and that makes me happy, but I thought it was worth repeating as well. The second thing that hasn't been said that I think is worth saying is the role of curriculum council in this. This came up at our last curriculum council meeting, this idea that there seemed to be an opinion that we ought to just avoid teaching this to 5th and 6th grade teachers. And I know among teachers there was a rumor that Curriculum Council voted in favor of kind of swerving around 5th and 6th grade. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. That did not happen. It did not go to a vote. I think Lisa would agree with me that that's reflected in our minutes as well, that there was a spirited discussion about 5th and 6th grade. And there were a number of us that were worried about the district just kind of taking a pass on those children. And people have already spoken to that, so I'm not going to repeat that. But I think it's worth noting that you have these bodies in place in the district to help advise you. And there were a number of us in Curriculum Council that were very bothered by the idea of just taking a pass on elementary school children. So I wanted to make sure you knew that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
May I make one observation?
Quick one.
Yes, sir.
Quick one. We're running long.
I think it's noteworthy to mention that, sure, we received a lot of emails about this topic. And I got to tell you that the comments that we received were done very respectfully, and they were done in the way of how can we make all of this work while we're complying with the law and helping our children. And it is so nice that someone can express their views without getting hostile about it. And so I do appreciate the civility, and people were talking to us from the heart, and they were very respectful. So I just want to let you know it's noticed, and I appreciated it. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I would like to thank everyone who's contacted us over the last month with their information, and everyone who came here tonight. As it's been said, this is a very sensitive subject, but people have been very forthcoming, and appreciate every single one of you who have shared your stories with us. I think our obligation as leaders is that we are not to stand for discrimination. We're not to stand for bullying in any way, shape, or form. And I challenge this board not to allow that to happen in our environment. Second off, I think it's very, very important that it's recognized, like Ms. Castle pointed out, that we got some of the greatest teachers in the world. And we need the greatest teachers in the world because we got the greatest kids in the world. And you coming here and telling us about them even proves that even more. So we're going to provide them the best curriculum possible for this to help them out and help them to be successful members in society. With that, thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Washer and committee, you have a general idea of where we're headed for this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And board comments on anything? Yeah. Let's do the board comments first, and then.
Okay, can I start?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to mention, actually, we have, I'm not like a real golfer, but what do they call it?
Duffer.
Hacker, right. And I wanted just to give some acknowledgement to some of our girl students that are participating on their respective teams. I'm going to mention the first one is from Bear Creek, and her name is Brenna Preef. And if you understand golf, she shot a 2 under par at Elkhorn. That's a 71. Outstanding. She is a member of the San Joaquin Athletic Association, member of the Bear Creek team, and she helped her team win her 4th championship. So kudos to that team. Another one is Lodi High School. They're in a different league. They belong to the Tri-City Athletic League, and Amelia Garibaldi, who is a freshman from Lodi High, had a tiebreaker that went to St. Mary's High School, but she shot a 76, and I want to say that she helped her team win the league championship also in that league. And I want to mention that both of them shot 3 over par, and the team is composed mainly of freshmen. So there has a lot of potential there. And I want to mention a little bit about Brianna Grieve. She talks like a coach. She says, goal is to keep peer motivated. Maintain a positive attitude no matter how things went. It's all about having fun. So she's just like a coach. I've been a coach before, and some of those things I've used before. Thank you, sir. That's it.
Any other comments?
Right before break, I attended the Bear Creek Safety meeting in regards to the incidents that happened after their football game. And I want to comment on, first of all, Principal Harold, how she conducted the meeting. I was there with Mr. Knakstad and Ms. McFarland and Mr. Kahn representing the district. It was a very interesting evening. The thing that I took away most was that the parents were incredibly civil and powerful in their comments, and they were more collaborative than attacking. And with that, we learned a lot about, I felt I learned a lot about the events of that evening. And with that, we learned a lot about how to handle control now at all our games, all our big football games, at all our schools. And I thought she did a very good job in getting information from the great parents that were there. And I know that Lodi High now has implemented certain issues too to make sure that they have good control at the football games. I'm sure Tokay is doing the same thing. But you know, Bear Creek, what I drew from it wasn't the students, because there were great students there. I've been there for many games myself when I was coaching. These are outsiders. And so it was kind of unfortunate, kind of reflected a little bit on the high school, but in actuality, it didn't. It was more of a reflection of the people that were drawn to the event, not a part of the community. And I thought that was very interesting. During my 2-week break, I was on an airplane flight, and the person behind me, it was an 8:30 flight, and the guy was very intoxicated, very loud, and so forth.
That was me.
And he was using bad language, there were kids and so forth. And I pushed my little button for the attendant. We haven't even left the tarmac yet. And very quickly, he was removed. So this happens in all parts of our community where we have to deal with people that make it unfortunate for others. But they have a very strict policy on the airplanes. I'm going to the Stanford football game on Thursday. You have to have a clear purse to come in, certain size. You're wanted as you come in. I mean, these things are happening. It's because of our community, not because of the kids. So we have to be aware of that and aware of these are not indigenous to our schools and the people that are in them. It's outside influences. So I was very, very pleased by that. Very, very pleased by the meeting. I went there expecting to be yelled at. That wasn't the case at all. Parents are outstanding, and so were the kids that were in attendance as well. So kudos to Bear Creek. It's a great school. Unfortunately, they had a bad incident. That was not of their own doing.
Good points, Mr. Porter.
Good.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Westwood School Health Fair. I was fortunate to go to that last month. What an absolutely fantastic job. There was a passing of the torch from Nurse Pam that had done in the past, and a pair of kindergarten teachers whose names I wrote down and I don't have handy with me, took the ball and ran with it. And our principal and staff did an amazing job. We had as many booths as ever. We had new booths. We had food banquets there, in addition to so many local agencies providing so many different services. And once again, one of the board directives has always been that we have kids, our kids teaching our kids. And the medical students and the McNair program were there. There was as many as I've ever seen. More kids than you could shake a stick at that were out there teaching the kids, and they absolutely loved it. Kids in their neighborhoods learning for it. So it was great to see that this tradition was being continued, and it's a fantastic event that's going strong, and I look forward to it, going to it again next year. Following with my board members' comments, Mr. Nava and I and Mrs. Nava were fortunate to attend the Bear Creek Edison football game Friday night, and we had a fantastic time. If you haven't gone out to see our students play sports, then you are really absolutely missing an event. We've gone to all of our stadiums. We're going to McNair, I believe, in 2 weeks. That's our last one to go to. But the sportsmanship that's being shown by all of our students, the cheer squad, Tokay Homecoming, we saw our student rep there, is absolutely fantastic. And Bear Creek did an amazing job presented with a situation. They put very sensible, non-intrusive methods in place that made it just a wonderful night, and we had a great time. Rich was there. Hillary, great job. Thank you very, very much. Last but not least, God Kids, we have our fundraiser Sunday night, so tickets are still available. Buy many, buy often, and we look forward to having you all at an outstanding event. This one's going to be at the San George Winery. Dr. Washer, myself, Mr. Nava, we're all sources for tickets, and it's going to be a great time for a great organization that gives back to our kids, extending the educational experience to kids. So Saturday night, 6 to whenever. Very good. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
I'll try to be quick about it. First of all, I would like to help the office of the registrar if we could kind of get back to the board on what we're going to do about that. Voting is not only a privilege, I believe it's an obligation, so we need to do everything we can to help them with that. Second thing is, on the migrant issue that we heard about tonight, we need to discuss that, and it's going to have to be done in open session. There's a lot of people here, they do have an issue, and we need to talk about that issue. The last thing I want to talk real quickly about is student achievement. I was in the Masters in Governance program for California School Board Association. They brought up some data of a survey they'd done that higher achieving schools are the ones that spend more time discussing student achievement. When I was president of the board, I asked Dr. Washer to have that on at every meeting. We've kind of gotten away from that, and it's understandable. I mean, there's an old saying that when you're up to your rear end in alligators, it's hard to remember that your mission was to drain the swamp. And so we kind of get away from that mission because there are so many alligators around here, and they bite us all the time. But our mission says, Lodi Unified School District will provide the best education for all students to be successful in life. That translates to student achievement. All right? So I want to look at a few things just real quickly. Now, the California Assessment of School Performance and Progress, the CASP, I guess that's what we're going to call it. Okay, the CASP came out a week or so ago, maybe 10 days ago. And just like every year, there were some highs, some lows, and some trends that I'd like to point out. The district average, our average, actually went up a little bit. But as my father was fond of saying, it was nothing to write home about. It was a very small increase, and actually this year, we did not exceed the state increase, which we have in the past. So that's a little disappointing on that. Our increase was less than 1%, 1 percentage point in both ELA and math. Now, we did have some highlights, though, and I want to mention just a few. Larson Elementary became our highest scoring elementary school in English language arts, with 65% of students meeting or exceeding standards. Now, if you go out to Larson, you will see why. Those students are engaged, those teachers are engaged, and they have been doing a fantastic job. Here's an interesting thing. Middle College High, 100% of students meeting or exceeding standards in English language arts. That's incredible. 100% of students, and 86% of those exceeded standards. So it was an incredible job out there. There have been many success stories, and I think what we need to do as a board, I would like to see us award some of those schools with a certificate or something let them know that we appreciate them doing a good job. Now for a look at not so good. Our elementary schools as a group showed no increase or decrease for the test year. 0% change. 15 of our 28 schools, more than half, had a decrease in their test scores. There's 4 out of 9 non-Title I schools that took a decrease, and 11 out of 19 Title I schools took a decrease. We have 3 schools that have negative progress over the last 4 years. And we have 9 schools that have negative progress over the last 3 years. Again, economic status was a huge factor. While the district average in ELA was 44%, met or exceeded standards, the figure for economically disadvantaged students was 37%. And for non-economically disadvantaged students, it was 63%, or 26% difference. 26 points. We have some work to do. And I'd like to see some ideas on how we're going to bring up all student test scores, just like our mission statement says. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. I was going to take a break to empty the room, but I don't think we have to worry about that right now. So we'll just keep powering through it. Okay, so consent agenda A. Is there any comments from the board? Any items like to be pulled? Okay, any items the public would like to pull from consent agenda A?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move we approve routine agenda A.
Second.
All right.
Whoa. Are we pulling like items A2, A20, A21, A22?
I was hoping not, but we can.
Well,
No, we just did.
name them again, Mr. Porter.
A2, A20. Oh, wait a minute. Scratch A20, that's going to be coming up later in our PowerPoint.
Right.
A21 and A22, I just have some questions.
2, 21, and 22.
A2, 21, and 22.
Got it.
I have to drop my motion, Mr. Chairman, and make a new motion to approve the rest of routine agenda A.
Still second.
Okay. Then moving to second. Students, you have a vote on this?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the board gets to vote? And it was approved 7 yes, 0 no. All right, A2 was being pulled by Mr. Porter.
Yeah, I wanted to look at numbers 8, 9, and 10 of A2. It's in there. I'm on A3, I'm A2. Why do I go from A1 to A3? Contract. And then I wanted to look at 8, 9, and 10. Is that correct? I'm talking to myself.
That's not what you asked.
All right, Mr. Khan, can you tell me who Stephen Arcega is?
Mr. Arciaga runs a sort of almost a headhunter organization for DSA inspectors of record.
Okay, right now I'm looking at, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it, he's in for about $150,000, $130,000.
Sounds about right. Excuse me, on 30,000?
Well, I'm looking on 8, it's 30,000, 9, it's 47,000, on 10, it's 49,000. Is that correct?
Number 8 is 81,660.
Number 8 is? Oh, the total, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the amendment that we're voting on. Are we amending the $30,000?
Yes, sir.
So the current amount has already been voted on, is that correct?
That's correct.
So I'm talking about $30,000.
Okay.
Now, Could you explain to me what he does exactly? And who does he work for exactly? Because that's a heck of a lot of money for construction inspection services. And doesn't our F&P do anything along these lines?
No, sir.
Or is it because we are short-handed in F&P, or has this always been outsourced? So basically what I'm asking you, what does this individual do?
In the state of California, when we build, we talk about the school district building a building, but in essence, we are all acting as agents of the state of California. We must adhere to their building codes. We must get permission to build everything that we build. An inspector of record, a DSA inspector of record, is the state authority that says, yes, they did it correctly, or no, you have to go back and do it again. We cannot do these projects without a certified state inspector of record, or excuse me, DSA inspector of record.
So he is a DSA inspector, is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure about Mr. Arciaga. I imagine he is, but what he does is he represents a group of inspectors of record, and we contract with him.
Is this something we shopped out, or is it just went straight to him?
Well, we've got two other inspectors of records on board. Aside from Mr. Arciaga and some of his partners, we cannot find another inspector of record.
In the state of California?
They are extremely busy at this time of the.
So this was the best and cheapest?
Well, with Mr. Arciaga's group, they are the only inspectors left that we can find. Everybody.
So we were kind of held to whatever you wanted to charge us?
Well, I don't know if that's true, but we are in a crunch period. We must compete in the marketplace. We do know of inspectors being signed.
How does his fees compare to other people that do the same thing that he does?
Well, the two inspectors that we are working with and have worked with for some time charge us $80 an hour. Mr. Arciaga's group charges us $120 an hour. We do know that...
so you just said normally it's 80, now it's 120?
I didn't say normally it was 80. I said that we do have two that have worked with the district for quite some time that charge us 80. We also know in the marketplace that the costs have gone as high as $135 an hour as well.
And this is relative to I'm confused. We're spending a heck of a lot of money for inspection. And did we take this out to bid for this inspection, or did we just turn it over to him?
This is a service. You do not have to bid.
Well, he charges a fee, correct?
That's correct.
Was that taken out to bid?
It's a professional service. You do not have to bid.
So we didn't have any oversight on how much he was going to charge us?
We knew how much he was going to charge us. We received a proposal
We just take
from
it, we
him.
don't negotiate it?
It's, the only option we have is to not hire him, and then we can't do the projects that the board has directed us to do.
But you just said you had other people that were $80 an hour.
And they are completely booked up with us right now. We can only take on so much work.
I understand. It just seems to me it's a heck of a lot of money going out that we could have maybe done a little bit better job of.
I don't think I can confirm that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
There are inspectors that are being paid more than even the $120.
This man is located where?
I believe Mr. Arciaga is down south. Two of the gentlemen that we work with are from the mountains, I believe. East of us. Yeah, just east of us. Jackson area. No, sir.
All right. Thank you. My next one was A21, is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Do we have to vote on this, or we just move it out?
We do it at the end.
We do it at the end? Thank you. Now we're going to A21?
We do them all. Either way, you call it.
Do them all at once. Do them all at once?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for putting up with me. A21 is where we're going to now. I'm curious, why is PG&E donating to us? I was just in Santa Cruz and almost got stuck over there on Thursday because they had power outages. And I noticed on 8/29/30, they're making donations, and I think maybe we should write a letter to them. Because I was stuck in Rio Del Mar, and all the power was out and the rolling blackouts. And I came across this, and I said, that's a significant amount of cash that they're giving to us. Right, when you start ending up? And why are we getting money from PG&E as donation?
I don't know the company's motivations for donating. I do know, and I don't know if this is part of their program, but they do allow their employees to actually sponsor company donations to their children.
So we don't know what this is for?
I don't right now, but I can.
That's a heck of a lot of money, though. It's very nice of them, I think. I mean, I'm saying I know, but I'm curious.
Yeah, don't get in bad with them.
No.
They're awful.
Turn the power off. Turn the power off. I was stuck in Santa Cruz for 5 hours. So I'm just curious about PG&E and how generous they are. Does Lodi Utility do something like that? I mean, as you can tell, I'm being very sarcastic, but I mean, this is wonderful. We do more business with them because they seem to give back to our kids. All right, I just thought we should bring that up and maybe write a letter or something. Boy, $1,000 to Elkhorn, isn't that wonderful?
I'm sure Mr. Khan writes these letters to thank you to these donors, don't you?
I was going to get around to it.
Okay, very good. And my sarcasm continues. Here we go to A22 now. Maybe they'll help out with giving the teachers a raise or something, PG&E. It'd be wonderful.
I still listen to see what happens.
Now we're on 822, is that correct? Yes. Okay, here you up the fees for teachers, $250, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what about the, if they order from Amazon and it's sent to their house, can they not have to pay for it? Did we change that as well?
We did not.
Why was that?
We still need to inspect all items coming into the district.
I know, but if a teacher were to bring what they ordered and the receipt for and under $250, just because they have it delivered to their house, this has happened to me numerous times. It's safer for it to come to the house and go to the school. I'm sure if there's any teachers left in and out here, I've dealt with the home for the lesson class, but it would be very nice if we would allow for them to ship to their house, bring a receipt. It would make a lot of sense, I think.
That would be for the board to determine, but it would be
Well,
a
we
break
did up
in
the
practice.
fees without the board making a vote, is that correct?
No, we voted on that.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah, we did.
Voters today.
Yeah.
Gave directions to the, it was not for the amount, is that correct? We did for $250?
Yes.
I don't think we ever did that.
You gave direction for the 250, it was revised, and now you'll be voting on it tonight.
Oh, so there we go.
There you go, there it is.
So can we vote on it? Well, we can't because it's not on the list. I would like to see us be able to have it shipped home and then have the teachers be able to bring that receipt in and get reimbursed. I think there's some public discussion on this issue, so I'll stop talking. Okay.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hammond. I'm a parent at Joe Cerna Junior Charter School, and I just had a quick question. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but why is Joe Cerna Junior Charter School PTA not listed as a donor?
We do them every quarter. Okay. So do you know when the PTA made the donation?
Last month we made a donation of over $11,000.
Might be on next month, but I'll check into it.
All right, I was just making sure because I haven't seen
You're donating $11,000?
For our science camp.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Thank you.
I chime into what Mr. Porter said about sending items to a person's home. I know of a number of teachers who have ordered things to be sent to school. It comes over summer, it comes during the break, and then nobody can find it. It's lost. If it comes to the home, and I think there could be parameters that the board, you have to bring it in and the principal signs off that it's been received and now it's into the classroom. That is an easier way, I think, at times to make sure that the item reaches the correct person.
Question, do we have a warehouse or a center where they deliver these things and then they're farmed out? I know I'm involved in athletics, and the first thing that they did, you don't get it at school, you go pick it up from they call it corporation yard, and there's all your stuff there, and then you sign off for it.
Many items.
Mr. Nava, because of my years of teaching here in Lodi Unified, the warehouse is, if it was a business, it'd be broke. And then on top of that, when you order, when it comes to the school, many times it gets lost.
Yes.
So for teachers that are doing like labs, like I did, the best thing to do is order it and have it come to your house.
So we have a problem.
You wouldn't get reimbursed. I would say that your purchasing and all that struggles, especially the paperwork that goes from the teachers or from the department heads and the principals, principal secretaries. You can bring the principal secretaries in here, they will tell you nightmares about purchasing, having the purchase order in their hand and being told they never submitted, even though it's sent in.
Is there a reason why we don't yet, Dr. Bush?
I believe Mr. Khan was going to respond to Mr. Nava if you wanted to.
We take deliveries at the warehouse, but they also occur at the sites as well. I do know purchasing is currently investigating. Amazon's beginning to broaden their reach in all areas of e-commerce, and one of their potential solutions to this type of problem is a secure delivery box that would look like a small storage container where the package could be delivered at 3 in the morning, put in through a slot that can't be reached into, and then the site would have the keys to unlock it. We're not there yet, but that's also a possibility for
So this is something on your radar?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I thank my colleague for pulling these items. Going back to item 21, since we're still discussing this, $37,000 donated to our kids. Thank you very much, everybody. Manuel Silva, $12,000. Cerna, we look forward to seeing your $11,000 on the next one. PG&E, how about Anonymous?
That was me.
Yeah, it was actually our president, but $1,000 to students to clear needy lunch balances in cool tropics. Same thing. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for helping our kids and helping our district. And with that, Mr. President, I move to approve items 2, 21, and 22.
Second.
Okay, here we go. We have first and second. Students, here you get to vote. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and board vote, please.
We have to vote on each one of them separate because they're in the SB separately.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, then A2.
A2.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, board.
You keeping the same motion in second?
Yeah. All three of them.
That was Mr. Nava and
Mr. Freya's motion, I second.
So nice, I did it thrice.
As usual.
We're not getting anything. There we go.
Where?
There.
There you go, okay.
Thank you, Valerie.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Item A21, student vote. Aye.
Aye.
Board vote on A21. Passes 7-0. And item 22, student vote. Aye.
Aye.
Board vote. Passes 7-0. No, we'll wait till 9 o'clock. Okay, consent agenda B.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda B, student matter.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Students, you don't get a vote on this one, so we'll call for the board vote. And that passes 7-0. Okay, and at this time, I am going to move student comments up, and then we'll move on to our subcommittee report. So student comments. Who wants to go first? Anybody want to volunteer? All right, there you go.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, President, Dr. Washer, and members of the board. Good evening. It's good to see you all again. So for school activities and programs, we had our ZAPS ACT prep class in September. I'm not sure exactly when the exact date was, but basically just helped to get students prepared for the ACT test. Student government, we are working on our Halloween Spirit Week. That is getting ready for our Lodi versus Tokay game, which is our rival school. So it's a big deal. And following that on Friday with the game is our first rally of the year, which everyone is extremely excited about. And we are also working on our fundraiser at Mountain Mike's on October 23rd. And we also are getting ready for our annual blood drive, which is November 8th. And some performances and presentations that we had. September 20th, right before we went on break, we had our second comedy sports performance of the year. Comedy sports is actually quite popular at Tokay. And then our second Tokay High football was actually highlighted on KCRA last Friday. It was very exciting, especially for the cheer squad, because we got to be right there up and personal with the camera. And special student recognitions, our homecoming king from September was Steven Zeman, and our homecoming queen was Alexia Cruz. In our co-curricular, we had our first football win on our field last Friday, which was the second win of the season against Tracy West. So that was really exciting.
Game of the week.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, and then just again, upcoming events are just our Lodi versus Tokay football game. Everybody's super excited about that. And then our blood drive on November 8th.
Thank you. Daniel, Bear Creek.
Mr. President, the board, and Dr. Washer, thank you for allowing me to join you guys tonight. I have my student report from Bear Creek, and starting off first with our school activities. We had our Homecoming Spirit Week from August 30th through September 6th. Our homecoming game on September 6th. Our homecoming dance on September 7th. Our club rush on 9/19, which actually went amazing. We got a lot of club signups, and it looks like our school year is off to a great start with our clubs. And our powder puff practices also began on October 1st. In student government, I'd like to recognize Annabella Nguyen, our Commissioner of Activities, for putting on a great homecoming Spirit Week game and dance. And I'd like to recognize our ASB Vice President, Ethan McLaughlin, for putting on a great club rush. And also for recognitions, I'd like to recognize our administration, as they took adequate and very comprehensive measures in they took adequate measures in preparing our school for their upcoming sporting events due to our conflict, or multiple conflicts that actually happened against the game with Lincoln. And our upcoming activities and events are the Powder Puff game and rally, which are both on the 8th of November. Thank you.
Nice job. All right, thank you. Nice job, bro. Okay.
Now, in this victory against West, right, you have a halfback, Joseph Filippini,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
How many yards did he run for?
I'm not 100%
276 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
Both returns, runs, and everything else, which was no surprise because if you're winning against Bear Creek, he ran for 282 yards, right?
Yes, yes. And according to my little brother, who is on the freshman football team, he has broken his own record.
Yeah.
So, which is amazing.
No, he's an incredible talent. Scouts are looking at him, and he's been a big part of this.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And now Bear Creek, you guys are playing Stag, at Stag this weekend?
No.
No?
Or is it Bear Creek Stag?
I don't know the exact.
Stag, yeah, Bear Creek and Stag.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who's gonna win?
Should be a good game, huh?
Should be a
He wants to
great.
see Bear Creek.
I want to see Bear Creek, but based on their current record,
Never know.
you never know that.
Yeah.
He acts like he's got money on this, and I just.
Now we have gambling.
You have a future of politics. Diplomacy. Very well, good. Anyway, excellent reports. Thank you very much for coming here, hanging out with us.
Thank you. And if, since it's 9 o'clock, if you want to bail, it's okay to do that.
What he meant was to go home and do your homework.
All right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, go study or something.
You've heard the word bail.
Okay, at this time, we're moving on to Board Subcommittee on Safety. We had some discussion about that, and what I need from this board is some volunteers who would like to be on that committee.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Shouldn't we have 3, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter, we will Brown Act the meeting anyway, so. if you want-
Oh, okay.
Typically-
Anybody else?
Typically you have 3. Pick me.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Mr. Farland.
Pick me.
And my guess is that any board member that would like to go would be more than welcome to go, but you 3 will go.
Very good. We look forward to
Just
reporting
let
our
us know.
findings back to the.
Okay.
Let us know the schedule meetings.
Yes, sir.
Who's in charge? Well, you guys decide that when you get there.
I think there's studies at 1 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Other action item 1.
Motion to approve?
Oh, do we actually didn't do that? All right.
Second.
You can appoint.
We appointed, so.
What?
Oh, it's an
I just,
info.
this is appointment.
It's an info item.
But other action item 1 is a resolution for the Board of Education of Lodi Unified School District prescribing the terms and authorizing the issuance of Election Series 2017 bond. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. These are your Measure U bonds. It's time to go to market again. We believe we can go to market in January. We will present all the analysis that's been done by both our bond broker and our financial analyst. We are seeking $110 million. We expect upon that sale to have approximately 140, maybe 150 in the coffers at that time, but I will note that between Lodi High School, Tokay, and also the Needham project, those 3 projects could very well consume the whole $110 million. And then we are actively working on the next 8 modernization projects as well. So there'll be more on that. Be happy to take any questions.
Mr. President, this is so exciting for this board to come from inception of Measure U, getting this passed, and now this is our 2nd bond issuance now, I believe.
Yes, sir.
For $110 million and see these projects come to fruition is absolutely fantastic. It's very exciting to see the changes on our campus and the future we're going. If you haven't driven out Turner Road, the projects that we've seen with M&O, the foundation being laid and the building structure coming up, and you feel it in the attitude on our campuses. So this is very, very exciting. I'm so excited that we're doing this, and I move to approve other action item 1.
Second.
Okay, is there any other comments from the public? Board? Okay, let's have the vote. And that passes 7-0. Thank you, board. Other action item number 2 is it changes to the adopted budget fund 67. Oh, this is the budget transfer. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. This is being returned for the 3rd time. This is actually the accounting procedure that would allow us to clear up the budget line that was used to pay for the workers' comp or PIPS program.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or concerns?
Go ahead.
As we've talked about it a million times, I'm against this. I feel that we had a system in place that I personally felt that we could have looked at further, that would benefit our employees more. So as you probably already know, would vote no on this. But I do understand the need to maybe look outside the box. But I would have liked us to try to work with the system that we had. So I'm not in favor of this.
Yes, sir.
I have been very vocal about this because I spent a lot of time researching the workman's comp. I think one of the things that we're losing, and of course, on that lonely night at the other school where we did our vote on this, that the information was lacking and the due process of us just doing discovery was poor, that we went into PIPs without really good background. I do know that we had a meeting, and I appreciate Mr. Kahn and Dr. Washer meeting with us during break with some of the board members to get more background information on PIPs versus self-insurance. My problems have been well noted on this. I do believe there's a conflict of interest, but I also think with the self-insurance, we were doing what was best for our employees and our money. I think with PIPs, we have moved into an arena where we're losing control. And I don't think we're doing what's best for our employees, and I don't think we're doing what's best for our money. The PowerPoint that I saw had, School A, or District A, District B, were all sales pitches to me from Keenan, which we are heavily tied into for a lot of our needs, and I find that somewhat uncomfortable, even though they're a very large organization. I think we're moving in the wrong way, away from the people that best serve our district. I don't know what was wrong with our self-insurance, although we've been told we'll save money in the short term for this. I don't know about the long term. I think what we had in place was very good, and I'll be voting no on this. I would like to see us get rid of PIPs, and I'll be continuing to do that every year until we go back to the old model and maybe clean it up a little bit, make it a little more effective. I'm sure the employees groups will have some comments about this, but I don't see it as a positive.
My understanding that this particular item, we've already approved going with the insurance company. This is simply to pay our bills.
Mr. President, the bill has already been paid. This is just to clean up the account line that isn't.
It's an accounting, this is an accounting idea. Okay. So the argument that our board members are making is when it comes up again, then that's when I would think you'd make that argument. But at this point, it's a done deal. It's just, we're just going to.
Well, Mr. President, I think what you're missing a little bit here is that we had concerns at the initial vote that I voted no on. Those questions were asked, they were answered, they weren't answered for me personally in a manner in which I could move forward having the background that I have in workers' comp. And if there's a system in place that is financially feasible or it works for our district and we're moving out of it, I need more information to move out of it. The board voted to move in a different direction. I respect the board's choices. My choice would be something different. And I just want to go on record and continue to stand behind that I have a different viewpoint of the direction that we should go in. As my fellow board member said, I don't know that it is what's best for our employees. And I don't believe that the system will financially weigh out, I guess is the best way to say it.
Mr. Connected, I realize this is an accounting situation. We're moving money from the self-insurance fund into the protective insurance program to help pay the bills. Kind of like Congress, I want to dry up the money so that with PIPs, it goes away. So by keeping this money in the self-insurance, and remember now, we do still have people that are under claims in the self-insurance that we have to use money for to pay for those claims. So we're taking money out of one pot that is active and putting it into another pot for insurance. So we're doubly insured on workman's claims, workman comp claims, and we still have to pay on the old ones to which we're taking money out of to go to this new shiny program. And so my feeling is, I'm not moving the money because I'm not happy with how things rolled out. I'd like to see PIPs go away, and if I could block the money, I can block the program.
Any public comments?
I have a comment.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you. I just want to explain my vote, even though we've already approved the move. For me, I don't care if you call it a protest vote or whatever. I'm going to explain it. I've worked in a high-risk, high-injury profession for decades, and I understand workman's comp very well. Being on the line and being a line supervisor, we do this a lot. I have a lot of operational difficulties with the move. The board did that way. You win some votes, you lose some votes. It is what it is. But just as a matter of consistency, I will be voting against this. And the sole reason is that from past experience, when you make moves like this and you lose the, let's say personal touch of having our own people be advocates for our employees, you start getting care withheld. You start getting no when you call the big corporate office, because if they say no enough and care is withheld, then they'll just fade away, and that's how they make even more money. So I just don't see this as a positive move. It's done. We moved. That's okay. Call it a protest vote. Whatever. I'm voting no.
Well, you also have an opportunity to get out of PIPs.
Yeah, I know.
I asked that of Mr. Khan the last board meeting. We're not married to this. We can divorce.
This is an action item, so continue.
Any public comment? Or you, Mr. Neely, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to be supporting this. First of all, as a board, we made a commitment. And the one thing you do in a leadership position is you make a commitment, you keep the commitment. Also, I don't like the idea of our general funds that go to our classrooms potentially being liable to something other than our kids. So I will be supporting this.
Okay, now Michelle.
On the workman's comp report, the slide, I think it's 14, where it says it should help reduce the district's lag time in reporting injuries. I can tell you from this year, I have not heard as many complaints about workman's comp injury. Now, personally, I'm under this umbrella. I was notified of an employee, a teacher, who, if she would have received care and got to see a specialist with it, she would not have permanent damage that is irreversible at this point. But because of the new system, she now is looking at pins and plates, and for the rest of her life, not being able to use part of her foot. And in my years as president, I have not heard as many complaints about workman's comp than I have this year and the process. And as we spoke before about the communication, getting out to the school sites, they did get flyers out to the principals, but there is still a lack of clear, what do you do if? I had a member call me this morning and say, is this true? If I'm going in for surgery, I have to take my personal sick day to go in for the pre-op for a surgery the following day because the district says, no, you have to do your appointments after school. That will come out of sick time. It's like, no, so there are lots of gaps this year in workman's comp and communication, and I have given Jill's number out. That is the only contact I know at the district for members and in the process what to do. But there's gaps, and I'm heartbroken hearing last night that I have a member who is looking at permanent non-functioning a part of her foot. And that's a disgrace because the process failed. And so is supposed to decrease, and help speed it up? I don't think we've seen that happen as an association.
I have a question for Mr. Khan. I guess operationally then, all the paperwork is out, everybody knows that if there's an injury, this is how you proceed.
I believe, we distributed to principals, we met with them 3 times. I can walk around business services offices and see the paperwork, whether everyone has.
Well, yeah, you can't, I get it. I just want to make sure we had an effort for that. My last question is, are we going to have anybody, knowing the number of employees that we have, are we going to have someone who would be maybe like a liaison between the PIPS people and our employees?
Well, we still have the one workers' comp employee who was handling all of this in years prior. In essence, we've increased staff, so to speak, several times over, in that with company nurse, when an injury occurs, somebody can always get a medical professional on the line directly. So I'm not sure I answered the question, but.
Yeah, no. Let me restate it then. Are we going to have, I guess, our own district employee, kind of an ombudsman, advocate for our employees to make sure that the company that we're contracting with is responsive to the employee?
We still have one employee that handles workers' comp for us. I imagine that would, absolutely.
Okay, that employee is going to stay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's helpful.
But I need to clarify that a little bit. She's staying in her role on the old workman's comp. As far as working with PIPs, they have to call the company nurse. Where that's located and what happens are 2 different things. So let's clarify what that lady's doing. She's working under the old umbrella when we're self-insured, and she's handling those compensations.
Will she, if an employee gets injured tomorrow, does she have any role in that injury?
Well, she has both roles in terms of seeing through paperwork, and then there's also the claims process that follows. So that employee will continue to be in contract with their
old and new?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, the moving to a large company sometimes is a serious vacuum of help.
Well, but I should state that employees that go through the company nurse also have the option of dealing primarily with the claim side of the PIPS program as well. Okay. But to answer your question, we still have the staff member that is there to help and assist with the paperwork.
I think that's a real critical piece for our district.
So I have one question real quick. I fall down and I get injured. What's the first thing I do? Do I call our employee here, or do I have to call the 800 number for the nurse?
Company nurse.
Right, so she is a liaison, but she's going to refer to the nurse, which is going to be on the other end of a phone, and she's going to send paperwork for them to fill out, and then it's going to go back, because there are legal, I could go through the technical, but we don't need to do that. So I want to be real clear that we understand that. The PIPS is a very good program. I don't want to, it is a good program. I just happen to like self-insured better. I think it manages better. There are pros and cons to each one. This one is just going to be administered very differently, and the base of it moving forward is more Keenan hands-on than Lodi Unified hands-on. Would you say that's fair? We've streamlined for them to execute it.
What I say is, one thing that I've noticed in my study of our workers' comp program is, in a way I could say yes. But I would also state that I'm saying yes because we weren't hands-on on many steps. I mean, our statistics indicate that average time from moment of injury to us knowing about the injury is better than 2 weeks.
And
So I think there will be more contact with the Keenan folks in registering and assessing those injuries immediately than maybe we've experienced in the past.
Well, and Leonard, I would agree with you. I'm hoping that's what happens, and I'm doing one of these. I think that's where my concern comes in, is that because those timeframes were what they were with the old program was self-insured, that's the human component of it. That we could talk about it all day long, and I know you and I, we could go back and forth. That's a human component that I think is missing from the PIPs, and to not attempt to fix that and jump to PIPs, that's again why I vote no. But I'm hoping that PIPs works, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
I'd like to add one thing, as someone pointed out to me. You call that 800 number, you spend 35 minutes talking to a gatekeeper. After that 35 minutes talking to the gatekeeper, they decide whether or not you get to talk to the nurse. You then I spent 45 minutes talking personally to the nurse. She then said, yeah, you probably should be seen. We don't have any appointments. You're gonna have to wait till 5 and then go to urgent care. So it isn't just the personal, my principal sends in the form, talks to Jill, take that. I have somebody who should have gone in an ambulance from an injury at school, and they waited to take her till the end of the day. And I get that. I mean, sometimes, like when you fall, you don't know you're so banged up. The adrenaline goes through, but there are some missing pieces and delays. It is not as quickly, and unfortunately, years ago, I'm sharing personal stories now, I had a workman's comp. I went directly to Lodi Memorial. To be seen, I'm driving to Trinity Parkway every day. I can't imagine with somebody who has not the ability to use their foot, or they can't drive, where are they going? It's Trinity Parkway or Kaiser. So I think that local part, the hands-on, is an issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if there's no more discussion on this, we've already adopted it, so I want to make a motion to adopt the budget fund from 67.
Okay, I'll second that. All right, we don't have any students to vote, so we're just up to the board. Okay, according to my paper, it has passed 4-3. But did you get that? Did you get it? Oh, there it is, okay. All right, other action number 3 is to get Claudia Minuti into Measure L and U Oversight Committees.
Chairman, I don't have any discussion on this. I just move we approve Claudia Minuti.
For both of us?
Both of them. Both of them, yeah. Put her to work.
You have to vote separately on this.
No, it's one thing. Board vote, please.
Public comment?
Oh yeah, public comment, sorry. Board vote. Okay, it passes 7-0. Mr. McKillen, you have routine classified items for us?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve personnel matters.
Second.
Okay, we got first and second. And this is personnel, so we get the vote only, right? 7-0. Okay, employee group comments. CSCA, you're up. Okay.
I've been sitting for too long.
We have all been.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call something up here on my phone.
You gonna call somebody?
No, I wanna bring something up. I want to share something that I received because it is good news. And I don't get to bring good news very often, so I wanna bring this good news. About a year ago, don't you like when I start like that? About a year ago, I got a frightening phone call from one of our retirees that they were receiving information from CalPERS that they were going to lose their retirement and they owed a bunch of money. So we embarked upon an adventure. And so I want to read a letter that I got a couple of days ago from one of our retirees. I just want to thank you for all the hard work you put in toward helping with the retirement professional growth issue for Lodi Unified for the past year. I just received a letter from CalPERS saying they are adjusting my retirement pay up to a higher amount. They also said I am due over $6,000 in back pay for my professional growth, which they are applying to the more than $8,000 they say I owe for the payroll mistake. So it will leave me a balance of only about $1,000 to pay. I feel so blessed that it turned out so well. Thank you so very much. So it worked. I mean, it's been a long slog, but it worked, and I want to thank you because individually you helped. You came to meet at CalPERS, you came to talk in our negotiations. We all worked together and it worked, and so that was very successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for today, except that it's the beginning of the second quarter, so we should probably carve our turkeys and flip the calendar and get ready, right, for the next year? Tell ya, it's going fast.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah. True. All about people.
Good evening again. I want to start out with a thank you for the district for allowing us for facility use for hosting approximately 100 teachers who are looking and preparing to get ready to retire. So we had a member come out and talk to them about everything CalSTRS and what to do and how to get all your ducks in a row in order, whether you were a first-year teacher or a teacher ready to retire in the next year. So thank you for that. Some concerns tonight with our parents, our migrant families. We have had migrant programs throughout the district. I was quite shocked that we would call those people parents, community members in during the 2-week break and give them that news. I had not heard from any of my members, and well, when it was explained that it was during the break that they were called in, I figured that was why. We have always had a policy. At Needham, we had a migrant program years ago. We've always saved those spots for those migrant families. It became only to then Live Oak where those spots were held as part of the migrant program. I hope that we can do something to make sure that we have the rooms for all students in that attendance boundary area and those migrant families who are a vital part of our community. Tonight we heard about polling places. I remember this discussion that we had about safety on school sites. I hope that we give serious thought about where those locations are. As was reported last election cycle, we had gates that were unmanned, gates that were left open, people wandering on campuses. As we have that barrier as our first deterrent to keep people who don't belong on campus out, we would ask that we have someone seriously looking at where those locations are. They providing people for security? We know that it was reported at, I believe it was McCullough, that a security person walked off, and Lockford, the principal, came out and was manning the station when the security person disappeared. So keeping our schools safe. We do believe that we should have community places for voting, but maybe we need to give very hard looks at what's provided to make sure our campuses remain safe and deter those that should not be there. We would also like to thank Lisa Katowski and Uwe and Scott McGregor for meeting to discuss the report card, end of quarter, upload issues, and adding an additional upload last quarter, and in moving forward, getting a group together to look at dates and when those uploads would be best, as that model and our AC day did not quite match up, and I think we have a better understanding of teachers can't fit the parent conferences in just those 4 days. So we applaud that open discussion and moving forward to continue discussing that. Leah's has helped sponsor and endorse the Den Ambassador Program, and due to the change in how PDs are advertised, I want to make sure that you all know and all teachers out there know that the Discovery Education event is this Saturday, and tomorrow would be the last time to sign up on their Google form. It's only a PD event. Because no emails are being sent out directly on each of them, we want to make sure that all teachers know. And board members, you have also been, I understand, invited to attend on Saturday. We also have our second annual winter gear drive that's just kicking off. Our Human Rights Committee is doing a drive at each school site for caps, mittens, scarves, socks for students that are at Mary Graham Hall. So if perhaps you'd like to donate to one of the school sites, a new little warm beanie or scarf, each of the schools will be helping out with that drive. So that's all for Leah. Thank you.
Any other comments from employee groups? All right, so we've got all the voting stuff done. We're up down to reports. Mr. Khan, you have something about Houston School?
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. We're still waiting our water tank for it to get out of DSA. We're also waiting for one more foot gate to arrive. We have electricity and the gate in for the bus slider gate. We're hoping to have the actual controller that will allow the bus drivers to do a remote control gate open. I'm told the 21st to the 24th. I'm also told those dates for the foot gate as well, so I'll keep my fingers crossed. We're actively in design for the next series of Measure U projects there. That would include the shade structure. I don't have any update on that yet, but I'd be happy to answer any questions about it. I'd like to point out one other thing. The board directed us to dedicate a homepage link to Houston Cerna. The laws have changed on the LCAP. We must actually provide a link to our LCAP and also those of all the charter schools that we authorize. So I directed IT to use that button for the LCAP. If the board would still like Houston Cerna on the front page, just let us know. We'll find some reason.
Thank you. You have a comment on the button?
We're crowded though. I mean, it's, and the one we chose is one of the, what they call the call to action, the 5 across the middle, the big obvious one that sort of sticks out. But
I think the idea is if we put something on the front page, then when the parents go back, they'll know where it's at.
Right.
So I still think they're gonna put one on there.
Okay.
It's easy to do.
My worry is if you move it, people are creatures of habit, and they go to the page that they're used to, and they can't find it. Well, what do they do? Take it down, and it's actually there. So
Well, there's a parent right there. Let's ask her.
Well,
What do you want?
I'm going to suggest, actually, it might not be very popular, but about a year ago, I'm the one that asked to have a month, or a report for every board meeting. At this point, I don't think we need to have Joe Cerna Houston School report. I would like to have updated information on the website on the first page, however. But I don't know that we need to have you give us a report every month, every board meeting.
Mr. President, I would beg to differ with you. If you've sat at those committee meetings and you've dealt with the families that have questions, I think until every I is dotted and T is crossed, I think we move forward with those updates. Mr. Khan, you're weighing in on this, I would appreciate, but I think to be respectful of all those people and all their questions, I think this is one place where they can get it once a month or twice a month what's happening.
Be happy to continue answering questions. Once we get the foot gate and the remote control for the bus slider, the only other project out there that's currently undone is the water tank, and we're still waiting for that to get through DSA. So there won't be a lot to report on the board's original direction last February or March. I'm sorry, I forget the exact.
As long as we're communicating with the parents and the students and the staff, I think the shade structure will probably be a little bit out there, and that's probably one of their ticket items.
But that's going to be a summer project next year. That still has to go as part of the DSA.
Right. As long as we're communicating with them, I think that's the main.
Which is why I say we should keep the website going, but I don't really think that we need to spend another 15 minutes on this every meeting. Public comment.
Hello, my name's Stephanie Hammond. I'm a parent over at Joe Cerna, and I did bring some thank you letters for you all. The middle school students were so excited to have that water filtration system. You would have thought somebody said free ice cream. Like when it first opened up, there really was a big line out there, and they were so happy about it. I do want to mention a few things though, and I know that we're looking to wrap up this report and the frequency of it. We are still an open campus. We are very grateful that the gate that we had put on where the kids are dismissed now has the grate on it to where we can't just reach in and open it. Not that I would ever do something like that. But the front office where Cerna enters, that is occasionally covered over by chain link fence. That is completely open. There's no lock on the gate where the maintenance enters. They leave that open and they drive through when kids are playing out at recess. I don't know if it's just for lunch or if they really need to bring their tools in a very small car. But I think that these items, even though, you know, it's wrapping up, it's still an issue for us. The issue of storage is a huge one. I took a few pictures of what used to be the music office over at 19 South Central. It is still full. Behind the stage is still full with instruments. They don't have anywhere to put it. Houston is currently using the stage for their instrument storage and their instruction time for instruments. We try to use the library when we can, when it's flexed in. I personally, for the PTA, have been trying to narrow down what we have in there. As a PTA, I'm having a hard time functioning because I can't even store a box. You know, I mean, we need to have wrappers for rolling coins and all that other stuff. I try to store it at home, but it's not my personal property, so I'm not really supposed to do that with a lot of stuff. And as far as I'm told, we're directed that we're not supposed to enter 19 South Central as frequently now. We're supposed to be reducing that time. So, just to wrap up, if we could get some direction on how we can store things and what we're allowed to do. The kitchen is completely empty as far as shelves. There's a huge pantry that's not being used at all. And we've been told that we can store none of our cooking club stuff there. All of our cooking club stuff is at 19 South Central. We've fixed the stove. We've, you know, done a lot of stuff to get it ready for cooking club. And when we cooked corn for Fall Festival, it was delicious. I had to bring all the pots and pans out from there and then go put them back. So these are just things I would like to keep on. We are so grateful for what we've gotten. When we had our fall festival, I had a complaint that we were too spread out. It was such music to my ears. We had a bounce house. We did have all the proper insurance for it. And we had all the space for the kids to run around to have Folklorio perform. So we're grateful, and I did bring these for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Connexon, can I suggest that on the next item, as we finish up with this, that we go down to the middle college high. We've got Jim Davis here, and rather than bring him back another night, I want to make sure that we get this in.
I mean, we're getting them all in though.
We'll get them all in. It's up to you guys if we get them in or not. I don't, okay. Anything else on Houston? Are we done with that? Okay, Mr. Davis? Actually, it's Mr. Palmquist is going to talk about it, not Mr. Davis, but he's here. I see him back there somewhere. Get up here, Mr. Davis.
Here we also have some middle college teachers. President Connexon, members of the board, Dr. Washer, thank you very much. We're here to give you an update on some new developments with Delta College. We keep bringing that, updates to you as they develop. A little context, it was about 13, 14 months ago. I was asked to approach Delta College about the concept of expansion of Middle College High School. At that time, their leadership was not interested in expanding. Part of that was a facility concern, part of that was just that they weren't interested in it. What came out of that was the Valley Robotics Project. That was something they were interested in. They wanted to, and I believe we have a executive summary slide there. They were interested in developing that project, which we did. As I have been reporting, we have got dual enrollment courses that are now going into the school day. They're looking at even some online opportunities for dual enrollment. And at a recent meeting, we met with James Todd, who is the vice president at Delta College, I think the assistant superintendent there. And we were talking about some textbook things we were trying to resolve and some facility pieces. And he did express some interest now in not only the possibility of expanding middle college, but also about the possibility of even adding another middle college-like program on that site, which could be industry specific. There was some conversation about health services, but that's undefined at this point. They expressed some interest and some openness in all forms and all types of expansion. So before we got over our skis, we wanted to let you know that was what we had discussed with Delta College. They had expressed a new openness, and we want to find out, it's been 13 months, what is some input on any or all of those opportunities. And like I said, Mr. Davis here can answer questions. We can.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I think it's a great idea that they're allowing us to do that and add this industry-specific program.
Well, and again, these are, they're not necessarily all linked or connected, and all what we would be looking for is, should we continue these types of conversations with Delta College? And, those devils would be in the details of whether we could pull any of those things off, but they expressed a willingness that they hadn't in the past, and I know that had been something the board had asked for 14 months ago.
If you don't get in the game, you can't win. Okay?
Well, Mr. Palmquist and Mr. Davis, I would say milk this for everything you can get out of it. I'm all for it. This is a real positive thing for our kids in Lodi Unified. Go for it.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just want to add that every year we get more applications to Middle College High than what we can accommodate. And, this year in particular, 90 or plus students who could be in the program, we're told there's no space. Most of them probably go back to their school of attendance, but I'm sure that we lose some of those students to other programs in other areas and other districts. So it's a way to keep our kids. It's also a way to attract students from other places that could pay for any expenses in increasing by generating more revenue. Right. So it really makes sense to, I know that your goal is to provide opportunities for students as much as possible. This is an opportunity we can provide for more of our students.
Perfect. I agree with that.
So are you asking to expand middle college, or are you asking to direction? in-
What we're doing is, we wanted to give you the information that Delta is now open for expanding both, dual enrollment online in the school day. They are open to expanding middle college, and they are open to the addition of an industry-specific program. They have not expressed that interest in the past. So by putting that before you and the public, we want to seek input to then go back to Delta College, then stakeholders and all those things to make a determination whether it's even viable. They've now expressed the interest and the openness to doing so, just like we did with Valley Robotics or everything else we do. There would be a whole bunch that would need to go along with any of these endeavors, and some of these things are in process, like dual enrollment, but we feel like since they've expressed that openness, we want to get that out there to see what the input is, so that we can then go about the process of seeing if these are viable and making them happen.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
This weekend, I was watching to see who was going to play the Washington Nationals in the World Series, and there was a commercial on about a school back east that was doing something revolutionary, where high school students were graduating not only with high school diplomas, but with college degrees. And guess what? That's middle college and something Lodi's been doing for a very long time. I've gone to your graduation, it's 3 years running. They're absolutely fantastic. Where our kids are going are amazing. The student debt we're saving them is astronomical. These kids are going into the best colleges in the nation. Our UCs. Last year's graduation, one of the kids who said was going into the Navy, he was going into the Navy nuclear program. How spectacular is this? You have my support in expanding this program, and I'm sure you have the board's support also in doing this. Keep up the great work, Middle College. Thank you for coming out.
Well, again, this would be for us to go back and engage to see if it's even viable, and to talk to stakeholders and see if this is, if the board is interested in that, then we will go back and have the conversations to see if it's viable.
You got one vote here.
You got one vote.
I have a quick question for you. Middle college outstanding, dual enrollment is just a diamond in the rough. I noticed Valley Robotics, the enrollment's dropped.
Yeah, I think it's down. I don't know what the exact number is now. There's
down to 80, is that correct?
Was that?
80 was the last I heard.
Yeah, I had it, I think, at 83. I think there were some that self-selected out, and then there are a couple that...
We do any exit interviews with the students on why they left?
Yeah, I believe Dr. Khan has, but I have to go check to verify.
We have a full-time principal for 80 students, is that correct?
We do.
Okay. Overall, Ms. Palmquist, Mr. Davis, it's been a long time. You guys do an outstanding job with middle college and the dual enrollment and so forth, but I'm a little concerned about Valley Robotics.
Yeah, they're looking to see how they can get new students in. The problem is, that interest, once students start in other schools,
right.
They're not necessarily interested in that. But there is still great demand for that program. It's the students they started with, there was some attrition, but that wasn't completely unexpected. The question is, how do we keep that enrollment up? There is already great interest in the next rounds of students to come in.
Outstanding. Those are the things I was looking for.
Yeah, and wherever they can, there have been questions, can we take some sophomores? Well, theoretically, we probably could, but it's not part of the model. And again, if we start doing too many things funky, we won't get off on the right foot. So it's about getting the right kids in and keeping them. But I will check with Dr. Khan on that.
Do you have any idea, on how you want to cap middle college, if they want to keep going? Any?
Well, see, that's the $1 million question. I know that I've had conversations even today with staff about concerns about what that might do to their culture. How do we make sure on any expansion or any industry-specific program, Valley Robotics,
right?
Those are always the $1 million questions. You could add 10 kids and make a mess. You could add 100 and it could be beautiful. It's all about execution, thoughtful planning, and engagement. So I think those are the types of things that, depending on, like I said, the direction and the way the wind is blowing, then we have to go do the hard work of working with Delta College to see what it actually looks like and engaging stakeholders to make sure that A, is it possible to do it responsibly, and then B, how many voices are in the room to make sure that...
I'm thoroughly committed. You're doing an outstanding job. Mr. Davis, thank you too for your work as well.
We're working on it.
Thank you very much.
President Knax.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go down a couple of these. First of all, I think it's a great idea. Jim, what do you got out there? About 360 students? Is that what it is?
255.
255?
Yes, sir.
So, are we looking to expand by just 30, or what's the next step?
So, there's all different variations that would be possible. A conservative, what we put was a viable conservative option, 30 students phased in, it would be 30 students, 30 new students, freshman year, that would then become more students as sophomores.
Then 60.
I want to say that the most conservative approach that would make sense, it's hard in high schools to do anything that isn't in groups of 30 because of the way sections work with students. So, a conservative proposal, if expansion were on the table, would be by 30 students. Year one, 30 students, year two.
So you're looking at 120 students overall.
It would have to
over
be
4
phased
years.
in, and there would need to be all kinds of
Fantastic.
questions
That's
about, well, how do we address counseling? How do we address a number of things that would have to happen if that's even the marching orders to go out and pursue?
Okay, I totally support that. You've got up there under your first bullet, dual enrollment courses housed on LUSD high school campuses. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'd like to see us work with our ag departments on that and maybe go to a viticulture program in conjunction with Delta and possibly Davis as well. We've talked about that in the past. That would be a big draw and that would really help our industry. I'd also like to see something maybe in healthcare, like they were talking about. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
and I agree with some of my colleagues here. You just run with this as hard and as long and as fast as you can.
Well, and then my job is to pump the brakes to make sure it's responsible. But what I will also say about dual enrollment housed on LUSD campuses, there's a lot of opportunity for that, even virtually. And that is something we're looking at. What would be a possible option to offer classes that any student in Lodi Unified could take? And that's really exciting to me. I see a lot of avenues and a lot of potential, but here again, these are a lot of different proposals, all in that same vein of opportunities for students. Want to make sure that we get input, we do things responsibly, and we listen lots of voices.
Fantastic.
So if we do the dual enrollment though, can we make sure that goes to Lodi teachers? Lodi Unified teachers?
You know what, we can't make sure of that. That's a part of the relationship piece. For example, the Valley Robotics class is taught by a Lodi Unified teacher at Lincoln Technical Academy. What we can do is request, we can work with Delta, but ultimately they're Delta employees and they're Delta courses, and they have to go through their collective bargaining processes. This teacher at Valley Robotics at Lincoln Tech had to re-interview. She had been a professor in the past, that had lapsed, so she had to go through not only the same hiring process, but had to get vetted by their union. So what we do though is by maybe when we request them, how we request them, things like time of day, structure, format, you can increase the likelihood. Oftentimes what happens is each dean also sets their own, so it's not like there's a uniform way that we can carte blanche do that. However, that would be our intent. They know that that's our goal on a lot of those courses, but it's hard to guarantee them. And when a Lodi Unified teacher does that, they do that as it's separate employment. It's a different employer. We have no, and that's something too that we would have to put, we would have to do a lot of listening and growing if we do expand some of those opportunities, because, these are Delta College classes.
What's the liability on that, with what's happening on our campus? Is that a keen question? I guess.
You know what? What we use right now for Delta College classes, I think they're up shipping. It's okay this term. It's normal facility use process. So we have to go through the same process we would have any other guest on our campus when we have classes.
So do they pay a rental fee?
No, it's not usually on.
It's all public.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that we open it up. Not unlike the voting.
I guess.
It's the kind of thing we work with them on it.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. I know Jim, I know you're depressed, okay? They're gonna move the Dodgers to a minor league and then fire Robert.
Things were going so well until right then. I was actually looking forward to going home and getting some sleep.
Sorry, Jim.
Saturday was 255 speed.
Okay, speaking of getting some sleep, we have 3 more report items. Is there any interest in tabling these items to some other time, or do you want to power through?
They are of essence, time of essence, or what?
Hang on. Mr.
I noticed there was no public comment on the last item.
Oh, that's right. Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's do that. It happens when it gets late.
President Knaxted, board members, Dr. Washer,
Really appreciate just a quick minute here to speak about this. My name is Ryan Penheisen, and I am one of the original 4 teachers that started Middle College High School in 1999. I am still there now, as are 3 of the 4 original teachers. The only one left retired. We've been doing it a very long time, and we are very proud of our program, and we believe we built it from something that was a great idea and turned it into a great reality. This talk of expansion has really sent kind of waves through our school. There's some very big concern by myself and some others about what this will do to the culture of our school. Don't get me wrong, we're obviously all here to support kids, and supporting and helping more kids would of course be fantastic. But I know myself and a few of our other teachers and other employees have some real deep concerns about, we've got a family that we've built over this time period. Expanding changes the way our school will look. Right now, I teach all of the 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade social science classes. I know every student. I know them for 3 years. 3 years in a row I get them. Our other instructors have usually all of the 9th grade or all of the 10th grade in English or Avid or some other subject. In other words, we get to know everybody in each of these grade levels. One of the things that could possibly happen by expanding even by 30 is you're creating a new section for every subject. That will potentially create some housing issues for us, and I know we spoke with Mr. Palmquist earlier today about this. We know that's far down the road to be concerned about things like that, but we do things like Academic Success Center that starts in the morning. All of our freshmen attend it. It's housed in one room. There's a teacher in there, and we have student helpers who are around to help them with homework, classes. They can ask advice on taking college courses because they're usually juniors. They know their way around. One of the things that will happen with expansion is that will no longer be able to be run in its current fashion, because I don't know, and maybe there is, but I don't know of any room at Delta College other than the forums that would hold 90 plus students. Because this year we have 60, I'm not sure if it's down to 64. How many freshmen do we have? 64 freshmen. Adding 30 more takes it to 94. I'm not sure what rooms they have available, but we would no longer potentially have a room for ASC with all of the freshmen in it. That is a great place for building relationships and the family that our students have really come to enjoy. It's a very supportive environment. I don't claim to know the future on this. I don't know and can't say that adding, as Mr. Palmquist said, adding 10 would ruin that, or adding 100 would make it perfect. I don't know that for sure, but I'm very concerned about change. When you have something that's working and working well, I understand the idea that let's get more kids into it. I'm all for kids getting into it. I just don't want to forget the 255 that we have this year. I would hate to see their experience and what they have going on be diminished in an effort to help more. I don't want to take from one to give to the other, if that makes sense. It is terrible that we do have to turn down students. I think we interviewed about 110 and we took 67, I think, this year. So it's unfortunate we have to turn those away. I know we had more applications, but many of those applications, they ultimately weren't qualified for a program based upon various aspects. So anyways, I just want to voice my concern. I was asked by another one of our teachers who couldn't be here. She asked me to speak on her behalf as well. She shares my views that she is also very concerned about moving towards expansion without some very serious consideration of the effects. In other words, we want to be careful not to look at what we're going to get by getting 30 more students in the program. Let's also look at the potential of what could be damaged. And one of my concerns is if there are changes, if our culture changes, I don't know how we'd ever get that back. you know, once you spill the salt, how do you put it back in the shaker? And I've worked 20 years there, and I sure don't want to see anything change in a negative way. I've been there a long time, and I love it, and I'm happy to be there. 2 of my children go there now. I have a freshman and a junior that are there. They are very much enjoying the program. They didn't like middle school, but they like middle college. So anyways, I appreciate everyone's time, and thank you for letting me voice my opinion. Thanks.
Is there another comment?
Yes. Hi, my name is Andrea Giannoni. I am also a teacher at Middle College High School. I've been there for about 15 years now. I came before the board last spring because our academic decathlon team had gone on to state. And I know some of you have been to our graduation, and I'm sure you would enjoy the briefness of it. So I also just kind of wanted to echo what Ryan has already said. You know, there is a concern about the culture of the school and how that's going to change. If you read the applications that we receive in January, a lot of the students that apply to our program voice the concern about how they would fit in a comprehensive high school, that they would be lost amongst the crowd, that they don't, you know, they're not into sports. They really think that the small environment is more for them. And I think that's who we cater to. We cater to those students that maybe don't fit in elsewhere, and they really find a value and a purpose at Middle College. And by expanding those numbers, that is a concern. You know, as Ryan said, that's additional sections of courses, and then there's a disconnect amongst the students. They start not knowing who's in their class. And I think, you know, that's just a concern, that as we grow, and as Mr. Palmquist had mentioned, you know, making sure that we're making those responsible choices in those growth numbers. And so I just wanted to also just come up and share that concern, and that, you know, hopefully moving forward, if the board does decide, excuse me, to go with the expansion idea, that, you know, you definitely consider the staff in the decision-making process and how we can go about this the smoothest way. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. That it? Okay, so I'm going to suggest that we table these other reports. They're not action items.
Lisa asked her hand up.
Oh, she does.
I have, Mr. President, can I said we have to do our report because this is the only board meeting in October.
Okay.
And we have to
Go for it.
that up before
Okay.
November 1st, so. Can
Okay.
we do it?
Yeah.
And we'll do it fast.
You know what I know you know what the executive summary is, because
Yeah.
you're an expert at that.
So I think this, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer, I believe this is the first time maybe that you have met our replacement for Randy Melandro. This is our coordinator of assessment, research, and evaluation, Uwe Dahlman.
Very good.
Hey, I have to learn lots of names this year.
What was the name?
Uwe Dahlman.
What's the last name?
Dahlman.
Oh, Don. All right. Welcome.
So you will see him up here at the table with me occasionally. What we're doing tonight is, if we go to the executive summary, we really want to share with you our performance levels for the 8 state priorities, basic services, academic standards. These are the priorities that have local indicators that we have to use to say whether or not we met those priorities. Go back, stay right there, don't move. And so we're letting you know that on priority 1, basic services, we have met those standards by our local indicators for our LCAP. I think I left the word LCAP out of there. So all of these are our local performance indicators to say that we've met them. So we're missing.
You said 8.
Yeah, we're missing 4 and 5, which is our student achievement data, which we will bring to you in November or December.
Probably December.
In December. And then the other, what's the last one, I think?
So we have academic, behavior, and then the college preparedness. Those are 3 that are provided by the state, and these are the 5 that we have to provide locally.
So we just want to let you know that we've met those.
We have summary overviews of each one in the subsequent slides. If you want more information, there are page numbers attached to those. Those page numbers refer to the Word document that you have in your packet. That's the detailed report that we are going to be submitting to the California Department of Education. that'll eventually get uploaded to the California School Dashboard for public view. And that's it. So we'll keep it short and
So the
sweet.
bottom line is that we're doing okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think this is a mandatory report to us.
This is the mandatory report to us. To
Awesome.
you. Yes.
Awesome.
Okay?
Pretty quick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Come back again. Okay. You like tabling two? You want to table these two?
Yes.
Any discussion on that?
Yes, table.
We do have to make a motion.
Yeah, we table, move the table.
Did you make a motion to table two?
He seconded me before he even said it.
Okay, there's been a motion that would table the last two reports. And then it was second, and what do you guys think?
Aye.
Okay, I got an aye. That's it. Doesn't matter what you want to call it.
We need to validate his feelings.
It's been 2 hours.
We need to validate his feelings.
See you